he casually tells Private Park to slap a claymore mine on his back. Private Park, quick on the uptake, asks if he mean the KM-1A1. Corporal gives a nod, confirming it is precisely the one. He throws in a heads up that if that claymore decides to go boom, it is like waving the white flag for everyone to know he has played his last trump card and failed. Corporal lays down the plan when that explosive spectacle goes down. Private Park's mission is to ninja hide with the whole squad. Now, back to Corporal Lee. Armed with his metal crush abilities, he decides it is time to give that bomb a one-way ticket to Detonation City. The entire vicinity lights up like a 4th of July display on steroids. The flames are dancing wild, and this intense inferno and these metal balls are charging straight towards the snake guy. Meanwhile, on the sidelines, Corporal is trying his best not to get swept away by the bomb's pressure. On the flip side, the snake guy and his slithery sidekick are turning into crispy critters, courtesy of the fiery chaos. By the way, a little background on our explosive star, the Claymore. Its official name is KM-1A1. It is not your average mine. It is a horizontal fragmentation directional mine, or simply put, a claymore. This bad boy is a directional anti-personnel shrapnel mine, a weapon of mass destruction with C4 explosive, unleashing over 700 metal beads, each one by 8 inches in diameter and about 3 millimeters in length. After the flames die down, we find our snake and his vampire buddies standing tall in the settling haze. The snake is howling like a banshee after that fiery ordeal, and suddenly, with a resounding thud, he collapses onto the ground. The guy with the spear just stands there, probably contemplating his life choices. Now, he is extra ticked off. He starts questioning Corporal Lee's audacity to try and blow him to smithereens. He is throwing shade at Corporal Lee, asking if he seriously thought he could kill the Chosen One with a mere bomb. But Corporal Lee could not care less about this dude's ramblings. He gears up for round 2, preparing for another attack. In a plot twist, Corporal unveils his trump card and smacks the guy square in the chest with his arrow. The dude goes crashing backward, courtesy of the arrow's sheer force. In the midst of the chaos, he is screeching in pain, wondering how on earth that arrow could be so fast that he did not see it coming. Meanwhile, Corporal Lee stands defiantly after unleashing his final hit on this troublesome foe. A notification window pops up, treating us to the juicy details. It is a Sir Tristan's Failnaught, boasting the remarkable ability to track down and attack a locked target with a 100% success rate. Not just that, it also nullifies any magical resistance the locked target may have. Corporal Lee takes a moment to school the struggling vampire, making it crystal clear that the annoying snake was just a warm-up act. The real ace up his sleeve was this arrow. Vampire, attempting to pull the arrow out of his chest, soon realizes it is a futile endeavor. Right now, Corporal Lee is the one steering this arrow ship, and it is not coming out easily. With a broad grin etched on his face, he reassures this poor soul that he will not meet his maker just yet. Corporal's got some burning questions to throw at this guy, and he is in no rush. Back at the Ant Squad, where the newcomer is clueless about the signal they were discussing when, right on cue, a blast echoes through the entire area. One of the privates turns to Private Park, announcing that it is a claymore explosion. Private Park, now caught in disbelief, wonders how this could be happening. To him, the explosion signals that it is time for the entire platoon to hightail it out of there. On the flip side, the newcomer is grinning from ear to ear, ecstatic that they finally got the signal they were waiting for. He confidently states that he was right. Being alone out here would have meant a lousy death. Now, with the corporal meeting the same fate, they can go into hiding. The newcomer suggests they dig into their combat rations and wait for the rear raid squad to arrive, ensuring their survival in this chaotic mess. However, Private Park, with a stern tone and a gaze that could pierce souls, looks at the newcomer. Unaware of the reason for the cold treatment, the newcomer asks what is up. That is when Private Park drops the bombshell, revealing that the signal just confirmed that one of their comrades might be dead. He questions how he can dare to feel happy and grin in such a dire situation. So, the tension hangs heavy in the air after Private Park's reality check. The newcomer quickly backpedals, assuring everyone he did not mean to be callous. He apologizes for the loss and throws in the classic "we got alive" online. Time to move, he says. But just as they are gearing up to hit the road, this thick force in the area starts cranking up a notch. The newcomer is scratching his head, wondering what the heck is going on. The soldiers are on high alert, feeling the intensity. Everything in the atmosphere seems to be reshaping, and out of nowhere, a whole castle appears. The notification chimes in, dropping the bomb that it is the Zombie King's castle, Endako, being manifested. Apparently, the Zombie King does not take kindly to anyone messing with his digs. Everyone's jaws hit the floor at the sight of a building popping up out of thin air. One soldier admits they have never seen anything like this before. Just when you thought things could not get crazier, a Zombie King's castle decides to join the party. Now, one of the privates spots that the zombies are also popping up along with the castle. The Blue Flower Guild member is practically peeing his pants at this point. But Private Park takes charge, raising his hand and signaling everyone to keep it down. As the scene unfolds, it is a full-blown zombie convention, a horde materializing out of thin air. Out of the blue, our Blue Flower buddy freaks out and bolts in the opposite direction, leaving everyone bewildered. The zombies catch wind of him, and it is game on. They start chasing the poor guy. Private Park, cool as a cucumber, orders the platoon to open fire. But there is a sea of zombies, and it is clear they are outnumbered. Park quickly shifts gears, barking orders to find the best hiding spot. It is survival mode, and things just went from bad to worse. Back with Corporal Lee, he has got the vampire pinned against the wall, and the bloodsucker is trying to yank that arrow out. But Corporal Lee is not playing. He makes it crystal clear that arrow is under his command, and it is not coming out easily. Now, there is this cocky grin on the vampire's face. He wants to know if Corporal Lee seriously thinks he can kill him with a measly arrow. Lee admits he cannot outright kill him without divine power, but he drops the bomb. If this bloodsucker keeps bleeding at this rate, he is in for a world of pain beyond death. Vampire's teeth are practically grinding in frustration. The bloodsucker decides to go all Hulk mode, exerting even more force to free himself from that arrow. But Corporal Lee, with a smug smirk, is not having it. He tosses the question back at him. How exactly is he connected to the Great Gugwang Group's second grandson? And further asked, is he the financial backer? The vampire's eyes widen in shock, and he retaliates, hurling insults at our guy, calling him a vermin and a lowly dog. But Corporal Lee is not having any of it. He thrusts the arrow even further, and the vampire screams his lungs out. After all the futile struggling, the bloodsucker is now utterly exhausted. Meanwhile, Corporal Lee, with a twisted grin, seems to be having fun with the interrogation. He is not done yet. Lee dives into the next question, asking if the vampire knows who the necromancer actually is. The vampire, despite being in shambles, shoots back with a sassy tone, claiming he does not know anything. He is a being who can be anyone, a comrade by the corporal's side, or even a family member. But then, Corporal Lee, dagger in hand, makes it crystal clear, crossing the line and bringing up his family is way too far. It is crystal clear to Corporal Lee that this vampire thrives on acknowledgement from others, but he is not getting a straight answer. Lee fires back with another question, asking if the vampire has ever actually seen a necromancer in person. The bloodsucker, proving to be a tough nut to crack, remains elusive. Corporal Lee, undeterred, starts thrusting his dagger into the vampire's neck even further, determined to get to the bottom of this cryptic situation. To rile the vampire up, Corporal Lee starts feeding him a bunch of bullshit about his supposed necromancer boss. Lee spins a yarn, claiming the necromancer is nothing but a coward, lurking in the shadows while his lackeys do all the dirty work. According to Lee, this elusive boss does not even show his face to his own lackeys, let alone talk to them face to face. Corporal Lee, with a sly grin, circles back to the burning question. What is the deal between this vampire and the necromancer? Is he just some obsessive stalker? At this critical moment, the snake regains consciousness and silently slithers up right behind Corporal Lee. The vampire, alarmed by the sudden appearance of the snake, remains silent. However, the snake, with its giant jaws wide open, attempts to swallow Corporal Lee whole. Sensing the tide turning in his favor, the vampire seizes the opportunity and shouts at Corporal Lee, questioning how he dares to keep rambling when he does not even know who the necromancer truly is. Corporal Lee remains unfazed, and makes it clear that he knows way more than the vampire does. He reveals that, for a long time, both of them used to look out for each other. The vampire dismisses it as nonsense, claiming the necromancer has not even awakened yet. Right on cue, as if Corporal Lee had it all figured out, he slams the giant snake on the head with the Achilles spear with all his might. After slamming the snake, Corporal Lee expresses gratitude to the vampire for providing him with a rare item. A system notification promptly appears, announcing that he has acquired Achilles' spear. The spear's unique trait is that wounds inflicted by it do not heal easily. Corporal Lee, now deep in thought, wonders about the awakening of the necromancer's powers. He then almost blurted out that he was going to eat it but quickly corrected himself, saying he is going to use it. If the necromancer had started acting, why would not he inform Lee? On the flip side, if the necromancer has not awakened yet, why is this vampire so fiercely loyal? The pieces of the puzzle are not adding up for Lee, and suspicions are brewing. Turning his attention to the snake guy, Corporal Lee interrogates him about how he managed to infiltrate the place. The Blue Flower Guild is supposed to be guarding the gate from the outside, so how did this snake guy barge in here all alone? So, the vampire gives Corporal Lee the look like he has just cracked the Da Vinci Code. He spills the beans, admitting he is the gatekeeper who opened the raid gate. And then, like a plot twist in a B-movie, he casually throws the question back at Lee, asking how the heck he sneaked through the gate, dropping the bomb that no one over level 18 is supposed to waltz in. Lee's left scratching his head, wondering if individuals can play gatekeeper DJ. The vampire, grinning like the Cheshire Cat, mocks Lee's flustered expression, claiming he is clueless. To make matters more interesting, he hints at a second phase about to roll in. And just like that, the surroundings begin to transform. Corporal Lee is utterly baffled as the terrain undergoes a drastic change. It becomes clear that he is not only at risk of losing himself but also the fail knot. Without wasting any time, Corporal Lee retrieves his fail knot by piercing a hole in the vampire's chest, swiftly reclaiming it. A system warning then slaps him with the news that the Zombie King's castle Andako has completely manifested, and the entry restriction for the gate has increased from level 18 to level 30. Corporal Lee is left utterly puzzled by this Zombie King castle scenario, and starts questioning if this is the second phase the vampire was talking about. In the midst of this chaos, the vampire spills the beans that after this phase, his raid gate will be all said and done. He lets out a maniacal laugh, inviting Corporal Lee to experience the true horror of this world, all by his design. Now, back with the amped squad, they are doing their best to play hide and seek with the sudden influx of zombies. However, the undead's attention is suddenly drawn to something nearby. As the scene shifts, the undead emperor makes his grand entrance into existence. Something else materializes before his eye sockets, and it appears to be his eyes, now floating in the air as if it is the most natural thing in the world. Taking a closer look, we see his eye sockets are empty, and then a mesmerizing purple hue begins to shimmer in the eyes of the other zombies in the vicinity. Every zombie starts screeching at the top of their lungs. It finally revealed to the terrified soldiers that the undead king is the puppet master, the one who controls life and death, reigning over light and darkness. Another notification pops up, announcing the beginning of the descent of zombie king Baron Samedi. The message describes Baron Samedi as a symbolic shaman and holy spirit of voodooism, controlling life, death, and resurrection. The figure before them is declared the true form of the zombie king. To intensify Corporal Lee's fear, the vampire reveals that his comrades, now turned into bait, will be offered as sacrifices. The zombies will then exit the gate, swarming into the outside world. With a challenging tone, the vampire invites Corporal Lee to try and stop the descent of the true zombie king, Baron Samedi. Back with the squad, they are playing a high-stakes game of hide and seek with the rampaging zombies. Suddenly, the zombies zero in on Private Park, who is desperately trying to stay hidden behind a wall. Panic sets in as it becomes apparent that these zombies can see them. Out of the blue, someone starts blasting the zombies with a gun, providing a momentary relief. But as the scene zooms out, it reveals an entire squad of zombies ready to tear everyone apart, making the amped squad seem like a mere speck in an endless sea. Determined, Private Park takes command of the situation. He instructs the raid squad that the zombies have developed visions, and he is going to provide cover to buy them enough time to escape. However, the zombie king has different plans and is not about to sit idly. He then extends his hand, and a chain-like thing hovers around his fist. With a flick of his whip, he hurls the chain down, shattering the ground into a million pieces. A soldier is sent flying behind, and now, these roots are mere inches away from tearing Private Park into a million pieces. Suddenly, a trusty grenade makes its grand entrance, landing right at the zombie's feet. It explodes, unleashing a fiery cloud that devours everything in its vicinity. The hero behind this tactical move, none other than Private Minty, brandishing his trusty shield. Private Park goes into a fit, demanding to know what the heck Minty thinks he is accomplishing, given clear commands to hightail it out of there. In response, Private Minty explains that Private Park would not last long flying solo in this zombie nightmare, so they are here to lend a hand. Little did they know, things look pretty darn futile when faced with the freaking zombie king. Unfazed, one of the soldiers, unafraid of these undead abominations, starts bombarding them with bullets. But the undead king casually extends his hands, deflecting all attacks with what seems like a defensive barrier. It is like trying to bring down a fortress with a water gun. Despite the soldiers raising concerns about staying there and the risk of turning into zombies if anyone gets killed, the squad takes a bold stand. They hurl even more enchanted grenades at the zombies, creating yet another fiery spectacle. The squad members make it crystal clear that if one person goes down, everyone will go down with them. They suggest to Private Park that he runs with them, or they will all be stuck in this perilous situation. Private Park, deeply moved by this unexpected gesture, finally commands the entire squad, including himself, to retreat. Before leaving, they ensure a fiery exit by tossing out all the grenades they have got. Meanwhile, the vampire guy continues to threaten Corporal Lee, making it clear that the zombies will attempt to exit the gate and swarm into the outside world. He gives a challenge to Corporal Lee to try stopping them if he has the guts to do so. So, here's Corporal Lee, full speed ahead, armed with his trusty divine weapons, and all he cares about is reaching the castle where his comrades are holed up. As he dashes through the mayhem, the distant sound of grenades exploding catches his attention. He cannot help but wonder if it is coming from the castle. Now, let us flash back to the moment Corporal Lee was having a heart-to-heart with his squad. He is laying down the serious talk about the Claymore mine. If that thing blows up, it means he has played his final card. He tells everyone to hide like their lives depend on it. And then, in that dramatic pause, he drops the bomb that if he does not make it back, squad leadership will be passed on. But just as he is wrapping up his speech, Private Park, ever the optimist, chips in. Showing some serious faith in Corporal Lee, he declares that he will be waiting for him. With a reassuring smile, he makes it crystal clear that the whole squad will be holding their breath until Corporal Lee makes it back. Corporal Lee, not one to let the mood get heavy, reassures everyone with that same infectious grin. He promises to come back for each and every one of them and tells them to keep the welcome party ready. In the present, Corporal Lee's mind is a swirling mix of determination and memories of the promise he made to his comrades. He spots a group of zombies blocking his path, almost like they have organized a welcoming committee just for him. However, he is not one to let a little undead gathering ruin his plans. He reaches for one of his trusty weapons, the Achilles Spear, unlocking its true potential. As he does so, a pesky system notification chimes in, warning him about the sky-high mana consumption. The zombies, on the other hand, have started their slow descent toward him. Ignoring the persistent system warnings, Corporal Lee dismisses it with a terse "shut the heck up." He is well aware of the mana situation, but he is resolute in keeping his promise to come back to his comrades, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, on Team Zombie, the Undead King and his buddies are having a moment of reflection, staring at their fallen comrades. Just as they are about to go full-on mournful, a notification rudely interrupts, announcing that Zombie King Baron Sambi's descent has hit a snag. Needless to say, the Zombie King is not thrilled. He is grinding his teeth like he just bit into a rock and realizes one of his precious artifacts is missing. He spins around, sees a soldier holding the artifact, and you can practically see the steam coming out of his ears. Private Park, being his usual blunt self, demands to know why on earth the soldier picked up Zombie King memorabilia. But good old Private Kim, always thinking 2 steps ahead, just shrugs and says he figured the Zombie King would not miss it. But, surprise surprise, it is not exactly a cakewalk. A horde of relentless zombies is hot on their heels, and Private Kim is dangerously close to becoming a zombie snack. Just when things look dire, the heavens send down a barrage of fire, bombarding those relentless stalkers. The entire squad kicks into action, realizing they are trapped behind a wall. One quick-thinking private plants a bomb on the wall, with a status update that the C4 setup is good to go. Private Park immediately commands Private Minty to shield the front line. With bombs in place and shields up, the zombies closing in, Private Park yells the magic word, blast. The bomb is detonated, and in the blink of an eye, there is a grand explosion. The light turns red, and every monster that dared to approach is now scattered into oblivion. On the outside, fellow squad members watch the spectacle unfold. The castle wall crumbles down in the aftermath of the explosion. The echoes of the blast reverberate through the entire area, and as the fiery light subsides, the once threatening zombies are now nothing but trash, scattered in bits and pieces amidst the rubble and debris. Soldiers, trying to gather themselves after blasting the shit out of the wall, and zombies as well. So, amidst the chaos and rubble, one soldier bravely stands up, checking in on everyone's survival status. Slowly but surely, each soldier crawls out from the wreckage, reporting back to Private Park. As they gather themselves, one soldier remarks on the successful blockage of the zombie entrance, but another voices concern about being trapped inside with dwindling oxygen. Private Park, always cool under pressure, reassures them that they have handled the immediate threats and need to focus on finding an exit. Just when they think they are in the clear, the walls start to crumble once more. Out pops the Zombie King's silver whip, like a grim reminder that their troubles are far from over. Private Park takes command, urgently instructing everyone to duck as the Zombie King unleashes his deadly whips. The once relatively stable situation descends into chaos, and soldiers scramble to avoid any contact with those ferocious whips. It is a dance of survival, where a wrong move could mean a one-way ticket to the afterlife without any appointment with the Grim Reaper. Meanwhile, the Zombie King stands resolute, both hands extended, flaunting his whips with a nonchalant air, and he is here to take what belongs to him. As the artifact stolen by Private Kim floats into the air, a sinister grin creeps across the Zombie King's face. It is the look of someone who has just found exactly what they have been searching for, and that alone sends shivers down every soldier's spine. Before the Zombie King can unleash chaos upon the trembling soldiers, the corporal arrives on the scene, commanding the giant to halt his movements. The unexpected turn of events catches everyone off guard, and a pleasant smile spreads across Private Park's face as he quips to the corporal about being fashionably late. Finally, standing tall and armed with unwavering determination, the corporal demands to know the audacious motherfucker who dared to mess with his squad. The corporal is back in action, and he is giving the Undead King a piece of his mind, treating him like a naughty toddler. He is demanding to know why the fuck this empty skull was messing with his platoon, because he is the only one who gets to give these rascals a hard time. Of course, the whole squad is completely bewildered hearing such colorful remarks coming out of the corporal's mouth. Then a system notification pops up, stating that the corporal has already used a large amount of mana in a very short time, and it has now plummeted to 32%. The corporal knows it too well, despite his big talk. His legs feel like they are hanging in hell, and he has zero clue how to take down that monster. But it seems the Undead King is not here to be bossed around. He extends his hand, and his metallic chains start to swirl around once again. That is when the corporal realizes this guy is a ranged type attacker. But he is just standing firm on his feet, while the Dead King gives him a glare that could cut through galaxies. The Undead King just stands there, like he has hit the pause button, leaving the corporal bewildered as to why this bitch is not attacking him. Meanwhile, the Private Park shouts out some orders to Private Kim and Private Choi, telling them to crack open the gear. They both respond with a firm yes sir, and immediately start rifling through the bags filled with supplies. But then the corporal's eyes land on this artifact sitting on one of the pillars. He wonders if the king's not attacking because of it. Suddenly, the Dead King decides to make a move. He disregards all his minions on the ground and starts stomping around, furious. It is like he is on a mission to squash the corporal like a bug. The corporal's eyes nearly pop out of his sockets as he sees those feet just inches away from turning him into a pancake. In a desperate move to save his butt, he leaps back, narrowly avoiding being crushed by the king's mighty foot, which crashes into the empty ground instead. But the king is not done yet. He decides to throw his metallic chains at the corporal, while Corporal is doing his best to dodge and weave, trying to outmaneuver the incoming attack. But just when the corporal thought he was toast, he sees his comrades ready with the supplies, including his trusty metal beads and some energy-boosting Red Bull cans. I mean, who would not want wings when facing off against some mighty undead? Anyway, the undead king also spots the corporal's squad members in the distance and prepares to unleash his metallic chains at them. As multiple chains lunge towards the platoon, the corporal, standing right beside the king, is not about to sit back and watch. He unlocks the power of Achilles' spear once again, and according to the system notification window, the wounds inflicted by this spear do not heal easily. But it comes with a cost. A large amount of mana gets drained, plummeting from 21% to 11% after using the ability. Corporal finally got his spear all decked out in this ominous black energy, and gears up to hurl it, but before he lets it tear everything apart, he tells Private Minty to shield the front. After the signal, he quickly slams his dark energy-infused spear into those chains, sending them flying off course. Some of them still come at the squad, but thanks to the corporal's quick move, nobody takes a lethal hit. Private Minty just bounces the already clumsy chains away from the squad. Then we see the corporal snagging one of those energy drinks from the air like a pro. Meanwhile, the soldiers sprawled on the ground are picking themselves up, asking Minty if he is alright. But poor Minty, his shield got all wrecked, mumbles out that he is okay with his shaky voice. The corporal immediately chugs down the energy drink like there is no tomorrow, and boom, system notification time. It announces that this mana starve can continuously recovers a certain amount of mana for 5 minutes. After getting refreshed amid the chaos, he calls out to the empty head motherfucker to get his sorry ass over here, telling him his opponent's right in front of him. Then, he takes control of those metal beads with his metal manipulation skills, pointing his finger at the undead king's direction and sending those metal balls flying at him like lightning. But guess what? The empty head just stands there like a rock, not a single metal ball passing through his defensive barrier. But our corporal's got a little surprise up his sleeve for this bastard. He immediately uses his smash ability to make those balls explode mid-air. Amidst the shards of metal, we also see a blade coming down the dead king's way, smashing right into his barrier. But the king remains confident, chilling behind his barrier like it is no big deal. He then grabs the blade mid-air like a toothpick that left Corporal Lee shedding his skin. At this point, he is well aware that if he kept firing his weapons carelessly, he would just end up losing all of his weapons. He is still scratching his head, trying to figure out what to do. Then, bam, the undead king hurls his metal chains down toward our guy once again. But Lee quickly transforms his hand into steel to deflect those chains, because there is no retreat and definitely no time to search for weaknesses, especially with the rest of the squad in the mix. He is doing his damnedest to keep those giant chains from reaching his squad because one swipe from those chains is enough to squash soldiers like stinky bugs. While he struggles against this behemoth, trying to dodge its relentless attacks, he realizes that since his descent is not complete yet, there must be some visible flaws he can potentially exploit. The undead king is going all out crazy while he tries to piece together where he could find any weakness. Suddenly, Private Kim tosses down a jar he stole from the castle, shattering it into a million pieces. Private Park is bewildered, asking what the heck he is doing. But hold on, that is not the end of it. Private Kim then pulls out that shiny, high-level sword he swiped from one of the zombies and gets ready to thrust it into the lungs that came out of the broken jar. Meanwhile, Private Park's laying it all out, telling him not to mess with any object that belongs inside the dungeon because they are not sure how they will react. But Private Kim, gripping that shiny sword like he is ready for a showdown, makes it crystal clear that they are all going to get annihilated at this rate. After all, even Corporal Lee Hyunwook cannot retreat because of the squad, so he figures they gotta do something out of the box now. Private Park, now realizing how screwed they are, cannot help but grit his teeth in silence. But then, the undead king is not just gonna sit around watching his body parts get stabbed. He extends his hand, preparing to hurl down his metal chains. Private Park signals to Private Kim to stab the motherfucker's lungs. The king is also doing his best to reach out to the platoon before they all get stabby. But do not forget about Corporal Lee, who is always there to throw this bastard's chains off the track, giving enough time for Private Park to stab this fucker's lungs. As soon as that blade sinks into the lungs, the undead king's left staring in terror like a toddler who just lost his favorite toy. He drops to his knees, looking as vulnerable as ever. His metal chains go haywire, causing chaos all around, while the squad's still trying to process the whole scene. After the dust settles, Corporal Lee shouts at his squad, demanding to know if anyone's still kicking. Slowly but surely, the squad members pull themselves together. Then, they report back to the corporal, assuring him that they are all okay. Crisis averted, at least for now. The Corporal Lee is grinding his teeth in frustration, trying to make sense of what the fuck going on. He watches the undead king, moaning and groaning in pain, and then King's eyes land on the nearby jar, which supposedly holds the king's heart. Corporal Lee's shocked to see the heart out in the open. He then turns to see the king's lungs lying there, pierced with a blade, and the scene hits him like a punch to the gut. But then, things start getting crazy. The undead king starts going berserk, and this purple energy starts swirling around him. Corporal Lee's doing his darndest to withstand the intense pressure, his eyes shimmering with the same purple hue, as if he is going through some kind of transformation. The king screaming at such a high pitch it feels like it is drilling holes into the squad's ears. Suddenly, a system notification pops up, reminding them of the forced restart of the descent of the zombie king, Baron Samedi, and it is 66% completed. The king's screams are ramping up with each passing moment, accompanied by this intense purple hue. Then, a warning starts flashing, stating that the spirit of incomplete death is starting to course through the zombie king, and the level restoration of the red gate has skyrocketed from level 30 to level 53. Finally, we see Corporal Lee's face lighting up with a grin that has been missing for quite a while. After all, he has just figured it out. These jars serve a similar purpose to those 2 other jars he saw earlier. Here's the lowdown. These are canopic jars of Egypt, which stored a mummy's organs in ancient times. If the king is like a mummy, then his heart would contain his spirit. Now, that little purple ball the king has between his chest is definitely where his heart resides. With a sneaky grin, Corporal Lee raises his hand, fail not in tow. With the king's defenses down, he is not about to let this opportunity slip by. He takes aim, launching his divine arrow straight at the king's heart. But then, as soon as the arrow hits the king's barrier, bam, a system notification pops up, spilling the beans on how this arrow tracks down its target and cuts through anything. Magic resistance be damned. So, there is no way Corporal Lee's missing his shot. The arrow slices through the barrier, through the weird blue blob thing, and finally, it nails the king right in the heart. But wait, there is more. Another system window pops up, blabbering about the zombie king's body healing up fast thanks to the descent effect. And now, the Devil King's just grinning like a madman as if he just found out the cheat code of life. So, the king, all confident-like, hurls his metal chains toward Corporal Lee. But despite getting pushed around by this dude, the corporal's not backing down. He tells the king to quit his laughing because he is about to get a serious beatdown from his Achilles spear. A system window pops up, spilling the beans that the effects of Achilles' spear are no joke. Wounds inflicted by this bad boy do not heal easily, and the corporal knows this spear is gonna put a stop to that annoying healing ability of the king's in no time. So, he hurls the spear down and immediately unleashes his ability and yells unlock. Then, he pierces the king's heart right out, leaving the guy groaning in pain. The spear's dark energy ramps up, intensifying the agony, and the arrow finally pierces through the heart, leaving the guy in absolute agony. Meanwhile, the corporal's still standing there, frozen in place as those chains inch closer and closer. But he's got a trick up his sleeve and activates his ability, Metal Calm. The system shoots out a warning, saying he has burned through a ton of mana real quick, leaving him at a big fat 0%. The message hits the corporal hard, and it is at that moment he knew he is fucked up. But hey, who needs mana when you have got trusty legs? He bolts, making a run for it, dodging those giant metal chains like a pro. But those pesky chains seem to have a mind of their own, homing in on him like heat-seeking missiles. Just when it looks like game over for the corporal, the legend himself, Private Minty, jumps into the scene. Minty, with his broken yet trusty shield, jumps in to protect the corporal from the direct hit. The corporal, being the concerned soul he is, yells at Private Minty, asking what the heck he is doing. But there is no time for catching up because another chain is coming their way. But Minty is not one to mess around. He throws up a shield, taking the hit for both of them. And let me tell you, having a tough shield's one thing, but you gotta have some solid ground under your feet to handle those chain smacks. Somehow, Minty pulls it off, soaking up the shock and keeping both of them safe, at least for now. Then, he spins around, making sure the corporal's alright. Meanwhile, Corporal Lee's standing there, jaws on the floor, witnessing Minty's new skill firsthand. Talk about pulling a rabbit out of the hat. Then, we take a glimpse back into the past, where we see Private Minty standing in the first row, taking all those blows. It was at that moment that he got leveled up after entering the dungeon, leveling up at a ridiculously high speed. The last time he blocked the zombie king's attack, he leveled up, reaching level 20, which granted him a new skill, Magic Shield. He can deploy a magic shield that boosts physical defense using mana, and that is how he finally got his new skill, Shield. But the corporal yells at him, asking how the heck he put his trust into a skill he had never even used before. It could have killed him, but Private Minty lays it down straight, mentioning that he just wanted to protect the corporal. The corporal pats his brave soldier on the back, acknowledging his sentiment. However, he does not shy away from saying that it is his responsibility to protect his squad. So, he tells Minty not to go too crazy. After getting a pat on his head, Private Minty starts blushing and all, thanking his corporal. But the corporal tells him to save his thanks for later because they have got bigger fish to fry first. Now, back to this dude, screaming his lungs out in agony and frustration. And then, boom, a system notification appears, stating that due to constant damage being inflicted, the forceful resuming of the descent has been cancelled. I mean, can you blame it? There are 2 top-notch divine weapons stuck in his chest. Then, another system notification pops up, saying that the incomplete spirit of death is encroaching over the body, and the body will soon break down and return to death. the undead king shrieking at the top of his lungs, and the roars he is unleashing are so fierce that they are even pushing Private Minty back. The undead king's just going bonkers, desperately hurling his chains toward Minty. When they realize they just cannot withstand these chains anymore, they both start running in opposite directions. The chains are just crashing down everywhere, turning everything into a hot mess of dust and rubble. It is Chaos City out here. This is when the corporal realizes that the monster does not have control over his own body with it breaking down, yet he is still attacking. He wonders if this is meant to be a last-ditch effort, where this bitch is just trying to take everyone down with him. But hey, the squad's not about to let that happen. Private Park takes charge, and commands Private Choi to block the monster's vision as much as he can. Choi gets down to business and starts bombarding the undead king. Private Park makes it crystal clear that until Corporal Lee Hyunwook recovers his mana, he tells the raid squad to execute disturbance tactics. Everyone starts bombarding the undead with bullets, but the king's not letting them slide either. He is trying his best to take these bugs down, but the squad's just way too stubborn. It is like watching a bunch of bulls refusing to back down in the ring. But then, out of the blue, the corporal jumps in, yelling his lungs out at Private Park Genmo for pulling off such a wild move. But Park's like, chill, dude, we are just trying to buy you some breathing room. He urges the corporal to land that final blow. And let me tell you, the corporal's just standing there, wondering from where the heck his pussy squad mates got all turned into brave lions. Meanwhile, according to the system, the corporal's mana levels are at a measly 6%, while the undead king's just shrugging off the hits like they are tickles. He is flinging those metal chains around like a kid throwing a tantrum. Then, to add to the madness, Private Park is caught in a bit of a jam, and the corporal watching his buddies struggle while they are trying to buy him some time to recharge. And hey, his mana levels are at a cool 19% right now. Then, just when it seems like things could not get any worse from this point onward, Private Choi screams that he is out of bullets, and as the king's chain comes his way, he is left defenseless, just like any other Joe. But then, here comes the corporal, strutting down like he owns the place. He calls out this dude to turn around because his old man's standing right before him, ready to give him a beatdown. With a leap into the air using his skill combo, the corporal's now jumping above those metal chains like it is a walk in the park. Then, with some fancy metal manipulation, that divine arrow in the undead's chest starts to shimmer. With his sword ready, he has got a plan. He knows the key to taking down this zombie king is to hit him where it hurts, his organs. And there are 3 jars holding the goods, liver, heart, and eyes. The corporal is not holding back. He is going full throttle, ready to end this showdown once and for all. While he is pulling off his mid-air acrobatics, he hurls his arrow down. And that is when the system window pops up, reminding us that this arrow nullifies all the magic resistance of the target shot. So, bam, the arrow pierces straight into the empty head's skull, right through his eye socket. After securing one eye, he gears up to take down the other one. But not before giving the undead king a piece of his mind, telling him if he is actually a king, at least act like one instead of throwing tantrums like a 12-year-old kid. With that, he thrusts his blade into the second eye, telling him to scram. Now, another system notification chimes in, giving info about his cloud blade. Apparently, this bad boy absorbs water and unleashes wet fog. And guess what? It is already charged up to 49%, soaking up some unknown energy. After snagging both of the king's eyes, the corporal takes a leap back into the air, leaving the giant monster tumbling backward. He crashes down on the ground with a mighty thud, sending nearby soldiers recoiling from the impact. Finally, the moment everyone's been waiting for arrives. The system window congratulates them on slaying the zombie king Baron Samedi. The squad is in utter disbelief, wondering if it is really true. But when it sinks in, they explode with happiness, riding the wave of victory. Meanwhile, we see the corporal, battered and bruised from head to toe, claiming his prize, the king's crown. The system window promptly appears, congratulating him on acquiring the crown of light and darkness. It is a mythical rank with main features that rapidly boost resistance against undead properties. But for now, it seems the special features are just unlocked. It is a big win, but the journey's not over yet. Anyway, the corporal's just gripping onto this crown, staring at it like it owes him money. He is wondering what the heck this item is. He has never come across anything like it in his previous life. And on top of that, it has got special features. But just when he is trying to make sense of it all, chaos erupts. Debris starts raining down from the sky. And it is like the whole place is coming apart at the seams. The system's chirping about the destruction of Endako, the fortress now without an owner. Private Park's looking around like he has seen a ghost, calling out to Corporal Lee for answers. And Corporal Lee is also as clueless as the rest of them. But he is not one to dilly-dally. He barks orders for everyone to get the heck out of there before it all comes crashing down. The soldiers do not need to be told twice. They are scattering like ants as debris rains down, as if they are dodging raindrops on a lazy afternoon. So, as the scene zooms out, we see this entire castle is crumbling like a house of cards, and here come the brave soldiers of the so-called trash platoon, emerging from the chaos. Finally out of harm's way, everyone just flops onto the ground, completely spent. They are sucking in air like it is going out of style, trying to catch their breath after all that madness. Then, bam, another system window pops up, announcing their raid success and that the raid gate's about to close shop. Talk about a tight spot for the corporal. He is eyeballing that gate, knowing it could disappear any moment now. So, he shouts at his squad to hustle because time's running out. And the whole gang, including the corporal, is sprinting towards that gate like their lives depend on it. Finally outside, we spot these Blue Guild Flower platoon armed to the teeth, standing by for action. Meanwhile, we see the manager spilling the juicy details to the lady, explaining that the whole party needs to be filled with players level 53 and above. He is wondering how the raid will be successful with these restrictions, not to mention the independent deployment by the Blue Flowers could become an issue later on. But this lady's got sass for days. She fires back, asking him what he is gonna do if the big boss group spots the supporting Blue Flower Guild. She asks him when does he think the party will be complete if they do not start now. Suddenly, their eyes land on the gate, which is on the verge of closing. Everyone in the Blue Flower Guild is utterly bewildered to see the gate shutting down. That can only mean one thing. The trashy raid squad and the vanguard actually succeeded at the raid. Finally, the soldiers has started to pour out of the portal like they have got a pack of naked dudes chasing after them. And just when the whole squad's out, barely making it in the nick of time, Corporal Lee makes his grand exit too. Now, the manager and the Blue Flower Guild president. They are standing there, mouths wide open, utterly dumbfounded that these low-rank soldiers actually pulled it off. Meanwhile, the squad's feeling like they just hit the jackpot, getting out of that hellhole alive. Before they can pop the champagne and throw confetti to celebrate, Corporal Lee crashes the party, commanding the whole raid squad to listen up. He starts shouting out praises, saying everyone did an amazing job, and that the Red Gate raid mission is a total success. Hearing this, Private Park cannot help but smirk, and before you know it, they are all bursting into happiness and excitement, finally pulling off that raid like champs. We also see the guild president once again, and at this point, she is practically grinding her teeth out of frustration. She just cannot wrap her head around the fact that these second-rate, pesky military folks managed to clear the Red Gate. And now, she has got a major crush on our boy, which is definitely not good news. So, we are back inside the gate, and there is this Blue Guild Flower soldier still running around like a chicken with its head cut off, sweating bullets because he bolted here as soon as the gate clear message popped up. Now he is looking around and wondering as to where the heck did the exit portal go. He is starting to lose his marbles, wondering why he cannot see it anywhere. Then, out of the blue, he spots someone trying to hide behind a wall. And guess who it is? That vampire dude who got a serious beatdown from our boy Corporal Lee. The newcomer turns around to bolt, but the vampire guy tells the newcomer to halt his movements. The soldier then realizes that this guy standing beside the wall is just a regular human, not some blood-sucking monster. So, he breathes a sigh of relief, thanking his lucky stars for sending him an angel. He was freaking out, thinking he was stuck in there for good. In this tense moment, the Blue Guild Flower guy is now asking about the way out, mentioning that the entrance was supposed to be right there. But before he can finish his sentence, he sees the vampire guy vanishing into thin air, only to reappear right behind him. Next thing you know, the vampire's got the soldier's head in his grip, and opened his mouth like he is about to chug down on some human soup. It is like a horror movie scene, with screams echoing through the dungeon as this poor guy gets his blood sucked dry. After all that, the poor soldier is left lying there, just a shell of his former self, drained of life and completely motionless. Now, the vampire is just standing there, thinking about our boy Corporal with that devilish grin of his burned into his mind. He is absolutely going bonkers, fueled by rage. He is now biding his time, waiting for the perfect moment to unleash his vengeance. He is fixated on tearing everything dear to the corporal to shreds, drenching it all in blood. It is as if he has a one-track mind set on revenge, and there is no stopping him now. This episode starts with our favorite dungeon raid party, who are having the time of their lives after conquering one of the troublesome rank 3 gates. However, it is quite clear that not everyone is truly enjoying their sweet victory, particularly the guild's flower president, Catherine. She is gritting her teeth in frustration, unable to comprehend how those third-class military dregs managed to clear the Red Gate. Corporal Lee commands his platoon to line up in a double file while he is descending down from the stairs. The raid squad immediately complies with the command, while the corporal eagerly stands before Catherine to face whatever expression of defeat she is wearing. The lady wastes no time before inquiring about her team. Also, I am not really sure if it is a mere coincidence or if the author intended for us to notice her cleavage. Anyway, my man got his eyes locked on her face, no peeking at her chest whatsoever. It is at this moment he reveals the grim truth that by the time he arrived at the scene, the Blue Guild was already a goner. Once again, she wants to confirm if he actually means that he defeated this Red Gate on his own, to which the soldier immediately says yes. However, it seems that she is not convinced yet, so the corporal clearly tells her to wait until the gate analysis results come out. Instead of refraining from further comments, this Persimmon princess continues to throw shade, questioning whether he is truly an F-ranker as he portrays himself to be. Our boy confidently asks her if she still believes he has any skill issues, to which the lady responds that they will find out soon enough after seeing the dungeon completion results. She then leans in close, while her hooter's making quite the impression, and casually asks if he happened to come across a spear during his adventure. She suggests maybe a zombified Blue Flower Guild member was wielding it, or perhaps it was stashed away in the dungeon's treasure hoard. I mean, the fucker definitely knows about the spear, since he used it to rip apart the undead king's heart. But still, let us rewind a bit to the past, where the castle was crumbling and the corporal was shouting for everyone to hightail it out of there. That is when we catch a glimpse of the spear, lodged inside the undead king's core. After retrieving it back with his metal manipulation, he commands the system to activate his tattoo skill. The system window pops up right on cue. This skill is actually called Indomitable Steel Body, which is a C-rank skill. It lets the user stash an item away secretly in one of two compartments. And the first compartment happened to be his left hand, where he discreetly hid his prized Achilles spear away from prying eyes. But even with the spear tucked snugly in his arm, my man denies ever seeing anything like it, even though we can clearly see the spear tattoo sneakily peeking through his torn uniform. However, this grumpy lady still does not seem convinced, and just as she is gearing up for another tirade, the corporal cuts her off, questioning if she is trying to wiggle out of the consequences of their bet by changing the subject every 2 seconds. He presses her once more, wondering aloud if the esteemed department head of the Soul Attack Squad's Blue Flower Guild is going to honor her word. Naturally, this grumpy and arrogant lady is hesitant to admit defeat, so she bites her tongue. But it seems the corporal is not letting her off the hook that easily, at least not without leaving her pride behind. Just as she summons up some courage to speak after swallowing her pride, the corporal decides to call it a day. However, before he heads out, he reminds her to take a breather for now, but he will be back to claim what he desires. In case you forgot their bet, let me jog your memory. If our boy lost, his life would belong to this grumpy lady. But if he succeeded in clearing the dungeon first, he would ask her for whatever he wanted. Suddenly, she grabs his hand and pleads with him to join the Blue Flower Guild immediately, promising him the royal treatment in the industry. However, my guy can see right through her tempting offer. It is clear she wants to squeeze him dry under her command, and he is not too keen on the idea. Just then, a crisp voice cuts through the air, announcing the arrival of the 3rd Amp Brigadier General. The portal opens, and out steps the big cheese himself. Corporal Lee does not miss a beat, quickly saluting his senior to acknowledge his presence. The man seems to be chuckling for some reason, and it does not take him long to pick up on the thick tension between the corporal and Catherine. Catherine quickly lets go of his hand, while the brigadier, still chuckling, does not hesitate to ask if she is trying to snatch away their key soldier who has not even been discharged yet. But the lady immediately denies any such intentions, and with a bit of wordplay, she mentions that she was simply offering him new opportunities. It seems the brigadier is not finished with her yet, pressing on about whether the Blue Flower Guild disobeyed the rules and prepared for a separate raid. Catherine's clearly walking on eggshells now, knowing that if she tries to defend herself any further, she is in trouble. Taking her silence as confirmation, the brigadier steps closer to her before informing her that there is also the matter with the Gugwang group. He emphasizes that, in many ways, both Blue Flower and Gugwang have crossed lines here at the Red Gate. He is left with no choice but to file an official complaint about this to the Blue Flower Guild Master. Additionally, he suggests that it would be wise to draft an official document regarding this incident and discuss it with all other guilds as well. Catherine's palm is bleeding from her nails digging in tightly due to the stress. This situation has spiraled out of her control, and she knows it is going to deal a fatal blow to the Blue Flower Guild's reputation. Unable to do anything else, she stands in silence, bracing herself to face the consequences of her foolish decision. The scene cuts to the brigadier's office, where he appears quite amazed to learn that Corporal Lee and his party single-handedly contributed to 100 in the raid. The man is having the time of his life, relishing the prospect of seeing the shattered pride of the Blue Flower Guild Master. Meanwhile, the boy is really creeped out to see this unusual side of his general. After that, the general returns to his usual self and remarks that it is his first time encountering someone like Lee Hyun-wook in his entire military career. However, Corporal Lee downplays the situation and deflects some credit to his squad members who helped him achieve these results through their collective efforts. The boy then proceeds to remind the brigadier about the promise he made. But the old man dodges the bullet by showering praise on his achievements. He mentions that he will ensure the entire raid squad gets promoted by 1 rank and that Corporal Lee will have a chance for a rank re-evaluation. Of course, Lee Hyun-wook can clearly see through the deviousness of the old man's conversation tactics. Nevertheless, he remembers he is in the presence of his senior and promptly raises his voice, thanking the brigadier and expressing his gratitude for the generosity shown. With just that one line alone, the old man realizes there is more behind Corporal Lee's praises. He puts on a dejected face, after figuring out that this bastard is after his divine pantheon, and this bitch is not leaving until he claims it. Hyun-wook also requests the general to provide his whole squad with weapons imbued with divine powers. For a moment, when it seemed like everything was settling down, we see the brigadier's bewildered face upon hearing that Corporal Lee wants weapons with divine power even though the zombie gate is already over. For now, this part of the story ends here, and we transition outside the 3rd Amp Brigade 1st Battalion Military Operation Headquarters, where the entire building is buzzing with only one sizzling news. The support squad cleared the level 53 Red Gate single-handedly. But then, we hear a familiar voice calling the whole thing nonsense. Of course, it is Sergeant Sanguk standing among his fellow soldiers. One soldier comments if these achievements do not make Corporal Lee superior to Sergeant Choi Young-gun. Another adds that when Sergeant Choi Young-gun returns from his deployment, they are going to need a match to decide who the ace is. I think they are talking about the guy who is on vacation for quite a while, although they have not made their entrance in the story so far, but let us hope to find out soon. Sergeant Sanguk, listening to all the gossip, is beyond pissed to see everyone talking about the corporal. In the park, we see the soldiers from our favorite squad hanging around, while other soldiers present cannot help but notice those F-rankers who used to be nobodies before clearing the red gate. As we zoom in on one of the two soldiers from the raid squad, we hear the redhead mentioning how people always ignored them, but now that they are receiving all this attention, he just cannot get used to it. Then the baldy comments that Private Park General seems to be doing well, and it seems that Park is actually enjoying the attention he is getting. He is regaling the ladies with tales of all the heroic deeds they have done to assist Corporal Lee. The ladies are clearly enjoying his stories too, genuinely interested in learning how the support squad got buffed up. That is when Private Park leans closer and, under his breath, attributes all of the credit to Corporal Lee's special training. In the following scene, we see the Steel Emperor about to devour the king's crown he earned in the dungeon. Just as he is about to take a sweet bite out of it, a familiar face barges into the room. The man salutes Corporal Lee and reports back as Private Lee Won-suk, here on business with the support squad. I clearly remember this is the same guy who had a showdown with our boy but ended up losing his pride in Chapter 5. Anyway, the man immediately drops down on his knees and begs for forgiveness for his past behavior. The boy shoots a glance over his shoulder, muttering curses under his breath at the lousy timing of this guy's arrival. Meanwhile, the pig remains on his knees, admitting it would not be shocking if Corporal wants nothing to do with him. Still, he is eager to do whatever it takes to convince our boy to take him under his wing. But the boy does not even spare a glance at the guy, making sure to devour the crown first. Just as the crown drops down into his belly, a notification window pops up, indicating that Corporal Lee is digesting the crown of light and darkness. The Vivo furnace in his belly is ensuring to absorb the crown with 150% efficiency, and there is about 25 hours left until the metal is fully absorbed. After that, he just stares blankly at the notification, his mind wandering off. It seems he is finally starting to consider the guy behind him, but we know he still does not like Lee Won-suk. However, despite his reluctance, he realizes he has no choice but to make peace with him. The soul wave is coming, and he cannot afford to be picky. He needs all the help he can get to survive and save as many soldiers as possible. So, even if it means begrudgingly accepting one more person, he is willing to do it. With that in mind, Corporal Lee agrees to Lee Won-suk's pleas, and the big guy's face lights up like a kid in a candy store after getting acknowledgement from our boy. But before they part ways, Hyunwook makes it clear that Lee Won-suk better be ready to put his life on the line too, and he is dead serious about it. He then grabs this pig by his collar and starts to drag him. Lee Won-suk is bewildered by this unexpected development, so he dumbfoundedly asks, "What is wrong?" But Corporal Lee keeps it simple, letting him know that whether he heard him or not, he does not care because he will make sure himself to teach this guy a thing or two. We are back in this Red Gate dungeon once again, where we can clearly see that vampire guy standing, probably waiting for someone's arrival. Suddenly, a portal starts to appear out of nowhere. Just as the vampire guy takes a look over his right shoulder, we find this humongous bearded guy who looks like the second coming of Bigfoot, appearing and taking his first step with his plus-sized feet. And it seems this guy is really ticked off about the outcome. He is on a tirade, accusing the dude before him of screwing things up and causing them to lose a bunch of priceless items. He even throws in a dumbass for good measure, saying the guy could not even finish a simple gate test. The guy, owning up to his mistake, simply says sorry. Then, another one of their teammates strolls in. She makes it clear that usually, they would have left this loser to starve to death. But today's his lucky day because everyone's been summoned. She then does this little gesture with her tongue around her lips, looking all hyped about the blood that is gonna flow in Seoul. She is totally stoked to start the Soul Wave. In the following scene, we meet this all-silver gorilla, watching over the entire city from his apartment while taking a phone call. It seems we are in one of the guilds, as we can clearly see the name tag on the window screen of the guild master's office. The guy is chatting away on his iPhone knockoff, recounting the Seoul Station incident to the caller. It appears he is talking about our boy who single-handedly took care of the incident. The guy informs the caller that he is going to take follow-up action against our boy. And this big bearded behemoth is the guild master of Great Mountain, ranked 3rd among South Korean guilds. He then mentions that he is keeping an eye out by fully sending his goons into the black market. It seems he is looking for some kind of key and assures his caller that he will definitely find it. He then takes a peek at the photo he is holding and tells the caller that it looks like these soldiers are wielding fire as their weapon. Probably AMP personnel. He throws in calling the soldier a petty thief for some reason. Not entirely sure what he is getting at yet, but hopefully we will figure it out soon. While he is yapping away on the phone, we can hear some pretty gnarly screams coming from behind the door. This big, bearded dude adds that during the upcoming Soul Wave, he is planning to open 4 gates simultaneously and split his forces. Then, a few of his goons will wipe out the 1st Ant Battalion. And we all know that the 1st Battalion includes our boy and his support squad. The man starts to chuckle, assuring his phone friend not to worry about a thing. Before ending the call, he assures the man one last time that he will take care of the entire Korea. And it seems the man he is talking with is the chairman. After that, he just crushes his phone with his bare hand and tosses it on the ground. Then, he proceeds to open the door. We finally see the view on the other side of the door, which seems pretty gloomy at first glance, with some corpses casually lying on the ground. Then the scene cuts to reveal these blood-sucking vampires who probably infiltrated the entire guild and wiped them out in one swoop. The bearded behemoth calls his minions slaughterers and informs them that they have got a new job. Everyone immediately diverts their attention towards their boss. One of the blood-sucking ladies tells her master to just give them orders. That is when the bearded behemoth tells them that all slaughterers are going to invade the 1st Battalion of Namsen when this soul wave starts, and they have orders to kill everything that is breathing. The lady, with a doubtful look, meekly asks if there are any specific orders, and it seems the others want to hear it as well. So, the bearded behemoth just tells her to do whatever she wants, as long as she starts from the army unit and wipes out everything until Seoul is vanished from the map of South Korea. The look on the lady's face clearly indicates that this was all the confirmation she wanted. Finally, we are back at the 3rd Amp Brigade 1st Battalion, where we hear the familiar voice of the battalion commander saluting Corporal Lee and the 6 members of his platoon. He informs the platoon that he has received orders from higher-ups to promote the platoon by 1 rank. Corporal Lee immediately reports back with a salute to the battalion commander. As they stand before the commander, he does not forget to praise their efforts and congratulate them for their achievement. It seems that Lee Hyunwook has finally been promoted to the position of sergeant, because this time, he makes sure to report back as Sergeant Lee Hyunwook instead of his corporal title. Up next, the battalion commander clears his throat before getting into it. He has always had this idea that if everyone in the military does their part right, they can build a solid barracks culture. After hearing just that much, Hyunwook knows he is in for yet another long speech. And as expected, the commander keeps on going, saying how their strong military spirit has proved this belief of his true, and he is genuinely thrilled about it. But before he could continue yamming, his phone's call interrupts the moment and he informed the squad to be on standby for a minute. Suddenly, the commander blurts out Kaido in shock and tells the caller he will be there in a moment. For a second, Sergeant Lee Hyunwook perks up at the commander's reaction. But before dashing off, he quickly delegates the duty of conducting the promotion ceremony to the 2nd platoon leader. Needless to say, the 2nd platoon leader is taken aback by the sudden change, but he rolls with it and agrees to carry out the orders. Meanwhile, the name Kaido keeps swirling around in Sergeant Lee Hyunwook's mind. Apparently, it is Akita Kaido, the infamous Sword Saint assassin who took down Sword Saint Gukseongpeo. In Lee Hyunwook's previous life, Battalion Commander King Kangseok left the battalion to chase down this guy after getting word that Kaido had slipped into the country through Busan Port, causing quite a stir. Unfortunately, on that fateful day, just 2 vampires managed to annihilate the entire 1st Battalion of the Amt. It seems the incident Sergeant Lee knew about had now started to take place. Naturally, the 2nd platoon leader kicks off the ceremony by announcing the results of the rank re-evaluation. Ahan Minty and Choi Min-hee have been promoted to the corporal rank, while Cho Tae-young, Park Sung-mo, and Kim Kyung-jin remain privates. But hey, everyone has advanced from rank E to rank D. After that, the platoon commander instructs them to check their weapons, which they have been rearmed with, and register them at the branch office. Everyone responds with a crisp yes sir in unison, marking the end of the ceremony. Sergeant Lee Hyunwook eagerly awaits to see whether the future that he knows from his past life will unfold as it did before, or if everyone will be able to make it out of that future alive. Everything seems calm and peaceful, just like another day. But our support squad is all smiles and cheerful, making the already peaceful day even more pleasant. Everyone seems to be enjoying their new promotions, while Corporal Park seems to be in a bit of a sulking mode. It did not take long for one of the soldiers to notice that Park Junno seemed to be on edge. Curiously, they ask Park Junno if he is doing okay. After that unexpected call, Junno snaps out of his sulking. He tries to brush off the concerns by saying he is alright. He adds that he kinda saw this result coming anyway, so it is not a big deal if it actually happened. Plus, he could not level up like the others. Even so, he happily raises his new weapon and boasts that he scored a reward, and a top-notch weapon at that. Now back to our boy, let us see what he snagged. At first glance, I could not really tell what they are, but the squad standing behind our boy confirms that these are pegs, which clearly are not weapons in any way. So naturally, they are curious as to why that is. It is at this point the sergeant stands up, making these sharp pegs float into the air with his metal manipulation. His mind is still stuck on the soul wave threat that is about to come. He figures he does not have time to stress about it. Right now, all he can do is prepare as much as possible to face whatever comes at him. No matter what it is, he will charge at it, pounce on it, and certainly destroy it and gobble it up, of course. The scene transitions, and we find ourselves in the middle of the night, with Sergeant Lee Hyunwook sporting his sleep-deprived eyes as he stands guard duty. Right now, Lee just wants to take a damn pee. It has been a few days since their promotion, and they have been assigned to the Namsen guard posts. As he stands on the watchtower, Corporal Park Jun-mo calls out to Sergeant Lee, but the sergeant does not bother giving a response. Park Jun-mo wonders aloud if they have been on night duties too much lately, feeling like they have become pushovers once again. Sergeant Lee Hyunwook, busy looking at his watch, does not bother concerning himself with what the corporal is saying. As of this moment, he has only got the Soul Wave incident on his mind. He is pondering whether it is lucky that the incident did not happen earlier or if there is some variable at play. Either way, he is sure there is some trouble brewing for Soul, and it will happen today. Suddenly, he shoots a glare at the loud-mouthed corporal with his tired eyes. The corporal quickly catches on that the sergeant is not messing around, so he backtracks, saying he did not mean anything negative by what he said earlier. Sergeant walks over to Jun-mo, while the corporal is stumbling over his words, trying to explain how excited he is about the upcoming vacation and seeing his grandma. He is just a bit scattered, but he is telling the truth. Sergeant Lee Hyunwook uncomfortably leans towards Corporal Park, asking if he trusts him. The corporal manages to muster a few words, stating that Park Jun-mo completely trusts our boy. Suddenly, we see the cat, and it is clear from its reaction that she is sensing some trouble lurking around. Meanwhile, we see our boy Lee is busy intimidating the poor corporal with his gestures and creepy smile, asking if Corporal Park Jun-mo is telling the truth. If he is, they will be leaving their posts once again. I distinctly remember the same scene from the beginning chapters, where Sergeant Lee asks the same questions. Heck, even poor Park Jun-mo cannot help but wonder if he is experiencing deja vu. In the following scene, we hear Sergeant Choi Seon's voice asking the soldiers if they are not going to sleep tonight, to which the soldiers respond with a resounding no. We then take a look at the orange cat once again, but this time it seems she has been killed, a dead giveaway that something's about to go down. Unaware of the danger, Sergeant Choi continues talking to the soldiers, asking if they have been on night duty too often lately, a remark we have heard through Corporal Park's mouth already. Although Private Park Sun-mo's eyes look like dead fish, he reports back that he is okay. Corporal On Minty, also giving off zombie vibes, states that according to Sergeant Lee Hyunwook, this is supposed to be part of their training, so they did not have much choice in the matter. After hearing this, the lady supports a smile while mentioning that if it is Sergeant Lee who ordered them, then there is no choice but to adhere to what he said. She also starts sucking up to Minty's achievements, assuring him that he is good enough, which is the only reason Sergeant Lee asked this of him. The soldier could not help but blush embarrassingly after getting acknowledgement from one of the cutest ladies out there in the mix. Suddenly, Corporal Minty notices a silhouette right under the bridge. He immediately raises his gun and points it towards the suspect, instructing them to halt their movements and raise their hands, or else they will face a barrage of bullets. It is clear this is not an ordinary being, as we can see those glowing red eyes even from a distance. Regardless, he tells the figure to freeze once again. Then, Private Minty aims his gun and tells the suspect that if they are a civilian, they better not take a single step closer, and orders them to turn around. After that, we finally see this creature with these purple eyes screaming at the top of his lungs, and after seeing this ugly face, Minty does not waste any time before piercing a hole through the creature's shoulder with a single bullet. The zombie falls flat on the ground, and we can clearly see the terrified Minty huffing after this nerve-wracking encounter with this otherworldly creature. Suddenly, the entire area descends into chaos. The soldiers are on high alert after hearing those footsteps rapidly closing in on them. Private Park Sun-mo, along with Sergeant Choi, is equally shocked to see this unexpected encounter. Meanwhile, Corporal Minty is just stunned in his tracks, his terrified eyes fixed only on the front, seeing this horde of zombies marching down towards them. Corporal Minty immediately gives the green signal to fire at the zombies. But it seems that both of them, with their limited ammo, are not nearly well equipped to face this countless number of zombies. It is like one goes down, but another one behind it keeps marching forward, and no matter how many they hit, there seems to be no end to these creatures. Corporal Minty immediately commands Park Sun-mo to come in front of the door as soon as possible. Almost instantly, Minty closes the door and puts his trusty shield up, making sure to use his magic shield skill firsthand. Minty braces himself for the impact from the zombies, while Park Sun-mo backs him up, determined not to let them push through. The horde of mindless zombies finally crashes into the shield, but thanks to Minty's magic shield skill, they just bounce right off. Still, I highly doubt they will be able to stall these zombies for more than a minute or two because the sheer number of these creatures is overwhelming. We finally see our boy Lee Hyunwook sprinting down towards the guardhouse as fast as he can, with Corporal Park Jun-mo following closely behind. Sergeant Lee Hyunwook is gritting his teeth and running determinedly because the hellish soul wave has finally started. The story resumes, and just as our boy Lee Hyunwook dashes down to rescue his fellow soldiers from the zombie wave, the scene immediately cuts to the official residence's executive lounge. There, we see Lieutenant Seo Yoon-ha, who has been absent from the action for quite some time. It is the middle of the night, and while seated beneath a roof lamp, she appears to be diligently typing on her laptop. Looks like she is drafting up some juicy report, detailing the hierarchy and management within the military, delving into who is who and how they are being handled. Suddenly, she begins to sense a creepy vibe swirling around the room, as if someone is keeping an eye on her. With utmost caution, she peeks outside her apartment, only to find nothing but dead silence and darkness. But it seems this silence and darkness are even more concerning in itself to her. So she takes her steps carefully, while her finger burning brighter in the dark due to her holy night skill. Soon after, she finds herself standing outside one of the apartment's rooms, where she can even see her reflection in the door's window. But when she dares to take a peek inside, what she sees is downright terrifying. It seems all the military big shots have been taken out by venomous snakes with total bloodshot eyes. Not surprisingly, she finds these two sturdy ropes barreling straight toward her, so powerful that they are practically demolishing the walls on impact. Now you can imagine what will happen if these ropes so much as touches her. So, without a moment's hesitation, she narrowly avoids the ropes swinging toward her, barely dodging them by a hair's breadth as they smash into the walls ahead. But her luck runs out as she suddenly finds her face colliding with someone's knees. It turns out this person knows her, since we can clearly hear them referring to her as the third daughter of the Holy Knights Order's captain. And as the scene zooms out, we finally see that this is the same fucker who got his ass beaten up by our boy Lee Hyun-wook in the Red Gate. Anyway, as soon as the guy pushes the lady with him out of the window, she prepares to retaliate before she could hit the ground, and starts burning this vampire's leg with divine fire of her hand. Seizing the opportunity, she delivers a kick straight to his face with her rather sturdy military shoes. After sending the guy reeling midair with her kick, she gracefully lands on the ground, unharmed. Meanwhile, it appears this guy is no pushover either, swiftly getting back on his feet before the crash landing. Before facing off once more, Lieutenant Seo takes the liberty of asking who her opponent might be, wondering if he is perhaps a player. But before hearing his response, let us take a closer look at the burn she inflicted on his chop. And when the next panel arrives, we see that the wound has disappeared, leaving no trace behind. After seeing the wound healing which was inflicted by her holy light, it is now pretty clear that she is not jumping in joy. In fact, she is now even more curious to know who this fucker actually is. As they stand face to face, the arrogant vampire speaks up again, taunting her that she does not need to know who he is since she is about to meet her end soon enough. He begrudgingly admits that it will be hard for him to kill someone as pretty as her, but he claims he has no other choice. Just then, a commotion erupts around them, catching the lady off guard as she gazes skyward with her dumbfounded expression. As the scene zooms out, we see a purple portal opening in the air above, and there is also an entire army of undead standing ready to march through. At first, she is stunned in her tracks, her mind and body frozen for a moment as she takes in the enormity of this army. Soon after, when she notices that there is a gate hovering there, and the presence of an entire army that should not be there can only mean one thing, which is that a wave has started. Just as she is lost in her thoughts, the vampire seizes the opportunity and attacks her immediately, reminding her that she should not be thinking about anything else while he is right in front of her. This time, it seems she will not be able to get herself out of this mess as the ropes are mere inches away from her. And unfortunately, he grabs her by the throat and drags her humiliatingly across the ground. As he pulls her closer, he reveals that he has heard about her grumpy and arrogant nature, but he insists she should learn to behave herself, especially in the presence of someone better than her. Meanwhile, the poor lady is totally helpless against this guy without her weapons, so she could do nothing other than to watch herself being dragged there like a dog. As the distance between them closes, the vampire guy informs her that he would have gladly toyed with her a little more, but fortunately for her, he has no time to spare, so he is about to kill her right away. Meanwhile, the lady is starting to lose consciousness due to suffocation, and if she does not fight back, she is pretty sure she is doomed. Just as she is thinking that, the vampire's rope gets shot right before his shocked face. And whoever this hero might be, they do not forget to go insane over the trigger, sending a barrage of bullets right at this arrogant guy who swiftly does backflips, dodging all of the attacks with ease. Despite dodging all the bullets with ease, the guy is pretty pissed to find himself interrupted, especially just when the scene was reaching its climax, so he demands to know who this sneaky bastard is. While the guy is flipping out, we see Lieutenant Seo finally catching her breath once again, after nearly getting choked to death. It seems the hero has arrived at the scene, and whoever this guy is, he sure knows Lieutenant Seo pretty well. And at this point, it is no surprise to us that the hero is none other than our boy Lee Hyun-wook, who is asking his senior if she is alright. But instead of responding to his query, she dumbfoundedly asks why he is here. But the Sergeant Lee stays simple with his words, simply letting her know that he is just here to rescue his senior. Well, the lady is not buying what he is selling. She has got a feeling this guy is hiding something. She has always been suspicious of our hero's moves, and it is fishy how this dude always ends up in the thick of danger. But before Lieutenant Seo Yuna can grill our boy, Mr. Vampire over there gets antsy and starts yelling, wondering if they are deliberately ignoring him. Then he goes off on a tangent about military ranks, like he's got a bone to pick, just like the one guy he met at the Red Gate. Now, you probably guessed it, the vampire is actually talking about our hero, who is standing there with a smirk on his face. After finally coming face to face with his enemy once again, Sergeant Lee Hyun-wook wastes no time before calling this trash vampire out. Also, it does not take long for the vampire to realize who this guy is standing before him. And when he does, frustration spills over and he starts hurling insults at our hero, calling him a damn trench monkey. But before we dive into the showdown between those two, we are zooming back to our Corporal Minty's holding down the fort against those bloodthirsty zombies. Poor Minty's hanging on by a thread in that formation. But it looks like they will not have to hold out much longer because the rapid response unit is on its way. Yet Minty's footing is slipping, even shoving Private Park Sungmo to keep him from being pushed back. But before the door could tear apart, Sergeant Choi Seona jumps in with her limited mana stash, urging them to grit their teeth and hold the gate a little longer. But let us face it, they are up against a horde of zombies that just keeps growing by the minute. I seriously doubt they stand a chance. Just when those two boys are pushed to their limits, their ears perk up at the arrival of the rapid response unit. The whole squad is quickly ordered into Z positions, and as soon as they are in place, the platoon leader gives the command to execute. With his word, these massive enchantment circles appear above the zombies, and almost instantly, fire starts raining down from them. Before we could see these zombies getting burned to a crisp, we witness one of the vampire ladies swooping right behind the rapid response unit. She immediately grabs her daggers and swiftly slaughters every soldier, zipping down through those poor souls. Terror washes over Sergeant Choi's eyes as she finds her subordinates dead on the ground, who were alive just a minute ago, and the one who just killed them all gracefully lands above the guard room. Private Park, Corporal Minty, and Sergeant Choi turn around to finally see this hottie fully suited up from head to toe, asking our poor soldiers with a sinister grin if they enjoyed her little massacre. Poor Minty's heart pounds as he realizes the rapid response unit did not even see it coming. He knows if things keep up like this, he might just meet his maker as well. As this woman glares at the terrified Minty, who is practically shaking in his boots, she finds herself annoyed by his lack of response to her question. So naturally, she gears up once more to take down what she sees as a bunch of boring trash bags. But then, her attention is suddenly diverted by someone casually singing like they own the place. The scene then shifts to a soldier, bottle in hand, seeming completely drunk, not caring a bit about the zombies around him. After seeing this bizarre sight, it makes no sense to the vampire woman, who wonders who this new lunatic is. Then, one of the zombies finally dares to attack, shattering the bottle the guy was holding. The guy lets out a scream at the top of his lungs, staring in disbelief at his empty rum bottle. He is completely beside himself, demanding to know who the hell drank his precious rum. Then, his enraged eyes turn towards the nearest zombie, accusing it of being the culprit. But the poor zombie just looks back cluelessly, innocent as can be. In response, the guy bolts forward, slicing through zombies with his shiny broken bottle at lightning speed. His movements are so quick, you can barely see him in action. Even the vampire woman, who was feeling pretty full of herself a moment ago, is stunned by this incredible display of speed. The boy then raises his hand towards the vampire woman, and points out if she is the leader of these zombies, and if she is, she gotta do something about the rum that just got spilled. With her cocky attitude full on display, the lady dismisses this serious drunkard's words and remarks about how full of himself he seems with his speed. She lets him know that with his speed, she might be able to have some fun for the first time in a while. Her confidence is about to take a hit, though, as the booze-loving bastard appears right behind her, asking if she is up for a good time, or rather, if she is ready to pay for the damn rum he lost. The moment she realizes he is behind her, her cocky expression melts into one of terror. She whirls around to strike the speedy boy, only to find her own hand cleanly severed from her body before she even registers what is happening. As the pain hits her, the lady lets out a grunt of agony, leaving the entire area echoing with her screams of torment. Her screams may be filled with agony, but for our poor boys, they are like a sweet lullaby. They erupt into happiness at the sight of the drunken soldier's return. And as it turns out, this guy is none other than Sergeant Choi In-jun, the legendary figure we have been hearing about for so long. Despite his flushed face and hiccuping, he is here on serious business. He demands the lady pay the price for his rum, or he will make sure to settle the score by cutting something else. Upon learning of this new hero's identity, the vampire woman starts to panic, insisting that In-jun is deployed according to her sources. But the guy, hiccuping and all, clarifies that the military called him back for some duty, so he is here to serve as instructed. And he does not let her off the hook for his rum, reminding her not to stray from the conversation. This arrogant lady, feeling mocked by this brat, screams in frustration and starts attacking him right away. Her first swing immediately shatters the bottle In-jun was holding and starts swinging her dagger further with such speed that you could barely see her moving. But the boy just keeps dodging the attacks like a ninja on drugs. Just when the lady thought she had the upper hand, the man simply vanished from sight, reappearing next to Private Park and Corporal Minty. And all the lady could do was watch in frustration as the hero moved with godly speed. After reaching the private, In-jun grabs his own head in frustration, clearly annoyed and muttering about what a drag this is. Then, he swiftly pulls the bayonet out of the private's pocket, declaring that he will be holding onto it for a while. But Private Park quickly informs Sergeant Choi In-jun that fighting the lady with a regular bayonet will be tough because she is apparently a vampire. Seems like this idiot did not even bother to notice or care whether he was fighting a zombie or a vampire. Corporal Minty quickly reminds the idiot that zombies sure as hell do not talk. It seems that Injun has finally started to get under the lady's skin by not taking her seriously enough. So she takes her stance, pumping her muscles with some blood, causing veins to pop out all over her body. With every last ounce of power awakened inside her, she is ready to take on this guy. It is no surprise to her why everyone calls him the monstrous candidate to become the next Sword Saint. And now, she is about to give it all she has got. As Sergeant Choi is left terrified by the sight of the enraged vampire, she is unable to warn the boys before the vampire vanishes from the scene almost instantly. The scene unfolds like slow motion. We see Choi's terrified face, the first letter of careful slipping from her lips. Before her voice can reach Injun, the vampire is almost upon them. Another letter slips from Choi's lips, and the vampire draws even closer. Just as the third letter of careful leaves Choi's mouth, Injun turns around as if he already knew the vampire was approaching from behind. He whirls around with his bayonet in hand, deflecting her attack instantly. Everything happens so fast that Sergeant Choi still has not finished saying the word careful, and the vampire is already suspended in the air. It is like time freezes for the soldiers standing near Injun. They are utterly clueless about what is happening. Meanwhile, Injun effortlessly flings the lady backward, sending her crashing into the nearby wall, obliterating it entirely. The soldiers reel from the impact, feeling the pressure of the force. Even Sergeant Choi, standing at a distance, can sense the intensity. After the crazy impact on the wall, the vampire lies on the ground, coughing up a horrifying amount of blood from her mouth. Despite the brutal impact, the lady refuses to give up. She staggers to her feet, her head spinning, while Injun informs her that he was being cautious with his metabolic rate before. Whenever he acts too fast, the effects of the rum wear off, leaving him sober, which is an experience he does not particularly enjoy. Turning to the terrified lady, he asks if she is willing to take full responsibility for disrupting his chill session. At this point, the woman is pretty sure that if she kept on fighting alone, she is about to get fucked. So naturally, the only wiser decision she comes up with is running desperately out of the place with her tail tucked between her legs. She is putting every ounce of energy into her sprint, hoping to reach the other slaughterers as soon as possible to avoid this guy wreaking havoc on her plans. But, of course, my man still has so many questions to ask and things to settle. He effortlessly chases her down, arriving near her right shoulder, casually asking where she is heading off to. The lady cranks her speed even more and vanishes from the place, but our hero also blurs from sight. The next thing we see is her being cut down from several places, and our hero's movements are so swift that the vampire's nervous system cannot even register the pain. Eventually, after her limbs are injured, she tumbles down and crashes onto a nearby street pole. After finally neutralizing her, the guy takes a look around his surroundings. On one side, he sees his fellow soldiers slaughtered like lambs, while on the other side, zombies are still trying to rip the gate off. He turns to the lady once again, who is just grunting in pain, her entire body shaking like a fizzy cola. He is naturally curious, so he wants to know how she is controlling these mindless ghouls if she is not even a zombie herself. But, as expected, the lady does not bother to answer and instead screams at the top of her lungs. Not one for whining and whimpering. He shuts her up real quick with a solid kick to her gut, sending her crashing further. Knowing he will not get any answers easily, he decides to clean up the other mess she scattered before returning to negotiations. He then vanishes from the place once again, landing back above the gate holding off those mindless zombies. As he is perched above, he commands the soldiers standing below to tie that vampire woman up. He also loops in the vice platoon leader, letting her know he will swing by again after he is done cleaning up. The lady seems a bit thrown by this out of the blue plan, but she is all for it, telling him to go ahead and slash those monsters up and give a report later. Before Yingjun gets down to slicing and dicing, Private Park offers up his newly acquired holy power-infused weapon, urging our rum-loving hero to give it a go. But Yingjun just shakes his head, saying no thanks, to which the Private Park reminds this drunkard that these guys will not go down easy with a regular bayonet. But when you look at this guy's face, there is this creepy, devilish grin spread across it. He is all about making these bitches suffer with every strike, and he is not shy about it. Naturally, the poor soldiers get a shiver down their spines after hearing this craziness from him. And with that final exchange of words, the man vanishes from sight once again, and before you know it, the whole horde of zombies is chopped up like veggies before they even realize what is happening. Gotta say, this dude's probably the coolest side character I have seen in ages. Heck, I might even go as far as to say he is even better than our boy Lee Hyun-wook. The boys find it weird how Sergeant Ingjun's personality has changed so much. Minty even remarks that this drunkard now looks similar to our boy, Lee Hyun-wook. Private Park nervously agrees, saying he gets chills whenever he sees the two of them grinning like that. And speaking of our boy, you can see the devilish grin spread across his face, and there is no denying he looks scary as hell when he smirks. But it is not just us who find his smug smirk unsettling. His enemies do not like it either. As soon as the vampire guy sees that same grin again, he explodes in frustration. Without a moment's delay, he swings his whip toward our boy in an attempt to grab Lee Hyun-wook. But my man has tricks of his own. He deftly deflects the whip with his dagger before it can hit anyone. While he is busy keeping those whips at bay, Sergeant Lee shouts at the platoon leader, reminding her that skeletons are pouring out of the gate and heading for the barracks. He urges her to secure the weapons and save the soldiers, but the lady raises a concern of her own, reminding him that the guy they are dealing with is a vampire. So basically, Sergeant Lee could not do much without his holy powers. Gripping his sword tightly, he makes it clear that fighting while protecting her would be even more of a hassle. The lady probably frowns, likely because of how tough this guy is acting. Another strike comes hurtling down at them, but Hyunwook effortlessly deflects the attack once again. To get the lady out of the scene, our hero reminds her that they urgently need a holy weapon to fight this monster back. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Seo Yuna is growing more and more suspicious of our hero, wondering how he always seems to be one step ahead. But right now, she is probably relieved that he can handle things on his own for now, and there is no need to be afraid. With that in mind, she proceeds to leave, but before she goes, she instructs him not to die here, and it is her order. And with that short sentence, she dashes off towards the weapon inventory, leaving our boy finally alone. Even the vampire is confused by the sergeant's decision, so he asks why he sent her away instead of fighting together. But instead of replying to the query, our hero calls out the asshole, mentioning that he is feeling pretty glad to see that this blood-sucking Snarlula is still alive. Naturally, this remark bewilders the Grumpire, so he asks Hyunwook what the fuck he is talking about. With that same sassy grin, our hero remarks that if this vampire guy is still alive and standing before him, it only means that this blood-sucking bastard has not reported to his leader that someone like Sergeant Lee kicked his butt. This remark definitely rattles the guy out of his mind, and he is beyond ticked at this point over our hero. But Lee Hyunwook just keeps needling the guy with his silly remarks, mentioning that getting his butt kicked in the red gate must have been bothering him. This Grumpire could only take so much humiliation from our hero, and right now, he is absolutely fuming. His hands start to transform, and these metallic dark matter relics pop out of his limbs. He is basically saying our hero must have been thinking too highly of himself. But once he is fully transformed, he lets Lee Hyunwook know that with his gear on, there is no stopping him from causing chaos. And he is pretty blunt about it, saying our hero's holy power-fused metal beads will not stand a chance against him. Suddenly, our hero's eyes widen in realization upon seeing this guy's new look, as if he has just hit the jackpot. He wonders exactly how many of those 1 billion won each mana tanks are in there. I am not entirely sure what he just said, but let us hope it makes sense going forward. If I missed the memo, let me know in the comments. Anyway, when we take a look back at this fuming Grumpire, he confidently lays it out that today our hero will not be able to lay a single finger on him, and he will make sure to tear him into pieces single-handedly. But just then, the sergeant's sword starts to shimmer, and a system window appears, mentioning the name of the item, the Crown of Light and Darkness. This item basically has effects to rapidly boost resistance against undead property. This crown can hook up any weapon our hero wants with an aura attribute, and he gets to choose whether it is holy power or black magic that he wants to fuse. Also, our hero can't use both the holy power attribute and black magic at the same time. And there's a note about the penalty that comes after using the skill. With his crown item activated, a holy light ring appears above his head, and his weapons start to exude pure holy energy. Another notification pops up, giving the lowdown on the skill granted by the crown. Apparently, it can hook up any gear he picks with a 10% boost of holy power. And as for the penalty, his mana is going to take a hit of 10%. Naturally, the vampire is utterly bewildered to see our hero transform that shoddy weapon of his into a holy power-fused weapon out of nowhere. And right at that moment, Sergeant immediately asks that what made this Snarlula think that our hero is still going to use those beads. Because this time, he plans to divinely tear this bastard apart into pieces. After activating his Saint Aura and infusing his weapons with holy energy, Sergeant Lee gets all cocky, leaving the Grumpire frustrated and terrified. But this guy still holds onto his bravado and challenges our hero, convinced that Lee Hyunwook cannot even scratch him with his divine powers. Yet, Sergeant Lee remains Sergeant Lee. He throws yet another verbal jab, asking this blood-sucking fiend if he is shitting his pants at the sight of these divine powers, because that is the only explanation for his frantic threats and talk. Well, that is the last straw. The Grumpire explodes out of frustration and hurls his whips toward our hero to shut his loud mouth for good. But just as those whips are mere inches away from Sergeant, the man starts zipping away, leaving the whips crashing down on the empty ground behind him. The angry bastard keeps stirring those whips around to chase down our hero, but my man is just ducking and dodging them nonetheless. It appears our hero actually recognizes the threat these whips pose, and they are not definitely something to scoff at, especially with their long range. He admits that even if one whip cracks over his body, he is going to fucking die. But still, he has this grin etched across his face as if he has figured everything out. He keeps dodging them left and right without a care in the world, and with each maneuver in the air, he is closing his distance towards the vampire. The fiend is fuming at this point, utterly flabbergasted as to how to deal with this slippery opponent. It appears our hero has completely changed his strategy, which will leave his enemy at a disadvantage with his whip, because at close range, all the positives of this weapon turn into negatives. With that knowledge in mind, he soars toward that bastard with his sword pointed directly at him, and there is also a dagger coming from behind. However, it seems this is not going to turn into Sergeant Lee's favor, because there is a cocky grin on the Grampire's face, as if he has already figured everything out. And as you can imagine, those metallic, sharp chain-like things start to pop out of his massive shoulder, soaring into every direction, leaving literally no room for our hero to avoid them. His dagger, which was coming from behind, also gets stuck in this mess of wires. To save himself, Sergeant Lee immediately uses his indomitable steel body to shield himself from deadly wounds. Somehow, he manages to get out of that wiry mess in the nick of time using his skill combo. Afterwards, he starts running down to make a safe distance, while those whips just keep on chasing him, crashing down on the ground and breaking it with every impact. The fiend is relentlessly chasing our hero with his whips, leaving him no choice but to desperately run out of harm's way. Meanwhile, this bitch is having a good laugh watching this once cocky dude, who was talking big, now sprinting off like a scared kid. To make matters worse, the fiend has snagged both our hero's dagger and sword. He had not factored in these armored tentacles when he marched toward the bastard, and now not only does he lack his weapons, but he cannot even get close. Looks like our hero also had his fail not ready to go for the final blow. But seeing all those tentacles swinging around, he is worried his trump card will just get swatted aside. So, instead of wasting another weapon, he goes for his Achilles spear, even though it is going to cost him a ton of mana. But hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. The Grumpire keeps getting cockier, relishing in seeing his opponent running around like an annoying mosquito out of fear. He throws threats, saying he would love to watch our boy run until he is completely dead. Sergeant Lee immediately takes his stance with his spear in hand. As soon as he activates the spear's ability, he destroys the tentacle with a single strike. And right on cue, a system window pops up, mentioning that he has unlocked the power of the Achilles spear. As for its effects, wounds inflicted by this spear do not heal under normal circumstances, but it is going to take a hefty toll on the user's mana once activated. Currently, his mana consumption is at 21%. As he jumps back after cutting one of the wires to save himself, the system also notifies him that he has 63% remaining after using the spear. After watching his mana plummet like crazy just from cutting down one tentacle, Sergeant Lee finally grits his teeth in frustration. It is clear this bastard is using a huge mana tank embedded in his armor to keep those whips swinging until our hero runs dry. It dawns on him that this piece of crap came fully prepared this time. Not only that, he is caught onto our hero's weakness and is exploiting it for all it is worth. But Sergeant Lee cannot just blow his entire mana reserve on this guy, especially with more vampires to fight. On the other hand, the bastard just gets even cockier seeing our hero feeling desperate and helpless. He mocks him, asking if he finally understands his situation and tells him to try yapping once again like he was doing before. Just as those whips are coming towards our hero, he pulls out his walkie-talkie from his pocket and urgently calls Choi Tae-young. With a voice full of urgency, he shouts into the device. Suddenly, a flash of light starts to shimmer right behind this crazy dickhead, who is totally bewildered by what is happening with all this yelling. Before the vampire can even make sense of anything, a beam of light pierces the man right over his chest and passes through his body, leaving the voice of fire echoing through the jungle. It appears that the other boys from the raid squad have been on standby, waiting for commands. As soon as they got the green signal, Private Choi Tae-young did not waste a moment before firing a holy bullet with clear precision. After the successful shot, Corporal Choi Min-yi reports back to Sergeant, telling him that since there is a chance their location has been exposed because of the gunshot, they are moving to a different location as an extra precaution. As the Grampire hits the ground, he is clearly not having a good time with that massive hole in his chest. This sneaky move really gets under his skin, and in a fit of frustration, he is all set to unleash some ultimate energy beam of his own. But before he can even think about it, Fail Not crashes through his chest again, making matters worse. And just when he is screaming his lungs out, our hero swoops in, spear in hand, and with a look that is screaming go fuck yourself, he jams that spear right into the Grampire's chest, probably putting a stop to his healing abilities as well. The blast is so intense that the energy of holy light pours out of his body after making a big hole through it. He finds himself in a sorry state, burned, bruised, and with both the spear and Fail Not lodged in his chest. Despite his condition, he stubbornly clings to the belief that as a chosen one, he could not possibly fail so miserably. But then, out of sheer curiosity, he throws his pride aside to ask our hero who the heck he is, wondering if he is an A ranker or perhaps even an S ranker. Sergeant Lee remains nonchalant, casually picking up those shiny crimson stones. He mentions how this guy is on the verge of death, yet he is still so curious about him. Regardless, the boy decides to comply with the command as a final wish for this bastard before he dies. As he leans over to his ear, he tells him that he is an F ranker. To wrap up this guy's story, he unleashes the holy power of the crown, taking a 10% hit on his mana reserves as a penalty. But as you can see, that 10% sacrifice is totally worth it because the Grampire starts sizzling like bacon on a hot skillet, screaming and writhing in pain. Even as he is getting roasted alive, the Grampire cannot believe he is going down so easily, especially at the hands of an F ranker. As the flames dance around him and his shiny crystals fizzle out, the system chimes in to let us know that he is tapped into some rank 3 mana tanks, and that mana is getting supercharged. Now it all makes sense. Remember when our hero was grinning like a Cheshire cat about hitting the jackpot in the previous episodes? Those red gems were actually mana tanks. And after finally getting those stones in his hands, he decides to chow down on half of them now and save the rest for later. Suddenly, an announcement starts to ring, directed to our boy. The announcer informs our hero that the skeleton army is attacking the barracks number 2, and this familiar voice seems to belong to Corporal Choi Min-yi. As the idiot is running down, trying to chow down those gems, he mumbles out, asking about the current progress. After seeing that horde of zombies, the both boys report back to our hero, mentioning that the skeleton head count cannot be measured, and the way things are looking, Private Choi is pretty sure that not everyone can make it out alive. On the other hand, our hero just keeps on running down with full determination, while his weapons follow closely behind him. Before our hero can reach there, let us focus our camera on this disgusting, brainless zombie just chilling around. But his chilling session is rudely interrupted when a high-speed car crashes into the skeletons, knocking them down like pins in a bowling alley. Inside the car, the driver looks absolutely terrified, with the airbag deployed and everything. But before he can catch his breath, the zombies swarm in from all sides, surrounding him in a gruesome circle of death. The next thing we hear are his screams of agony as blood spills everywhere. Honestly, I was not a fan of his wimpy face anyway, so props to the zombies for taking out this waste of oxygen. The zombies gather around the car like it is the hottest ticket in town, and one of them finally gets a hold of the man's head, after chopping it off with a satisfying crunch. Even the skeletons seem to find his terrified expression amusing, chuckling in his bone-chilling way. Meanwhile, in the lady soldiers' dormitories, one of the sexy ladies in her night suit peeks out to witness the gruesome scene unfolding outside. And when she takes a further closer look, she finds that the platoon leader has also died. Other sexy ladies are there too, using their fire powers to try and fend off the creatures. But they are screaming for Sergeant Kim Se, explaining that without the noble phantasms, they do not have enough mana to keep the zombies at bay. If they do not do something fast, it will not be long before the monsters push their way inside. The short-haired woman we saw earlier comes running into the corridor, telling everyone to hang in there. She instructs the ladies to avoid shooting randomly, as it would be better if they focus their firepower at one point and blast them. I guess this shorty is Sergeant Kim Se. Anyway, she then twirls around and demands to know why the armory has not arrived yet. Another soldier reveals that the platoon leader had the key to the armory, but the shorty yells once again, telling them to just destroy it or melt it down because she does not care. All she wants is the armory here because apparently it is probably the only way they can make it out alive from the barracks. Another soldier chimes in with a concerned face, reporting to Sergeant Kim that the skeletons have started to climb up the walls and are trying to get inside through the windows. Sergeant Kim immediately commands the soldier to get away from the window. It seems that this shorty is in quite a bit of trouble because we can clearly see a skeleton behind her through the window. Finally, Sergeant Lee has made it to the barracks. After looking at the sheer number of skeletons, he finds himself bewildered. He is especially worried about Sergeant Kim Se because he cannot afford to lose her. He is just praying that she is alive. The scene then cuts back to the shorty, who is about to get her head chopped off by a menacing skeleton. I guess she should have listened to her own advice about keeping a safe distance from the window. The lady turns around, only to see a sword hovering above her head, ready to blow her away. The next scene transitions to the mountains. There we see one of two vampires perched above the high hill. The bulky one suggests to the lady that if they all rush in at once and open all of the gates, there is a chance they could finish everything quickly. The woman with the blonde hair says something cryptically about hope to survive, and this short sentence flies over the bearded behemoth's empty head, who asks in confusion what the hell she is talking about. The woman then clarifies that she likes humans when they are seasoned with some shattered hope. Just then, a man in a summer hat joins the scene with a somber expression, commenting on how her preferences have not changed over the years. He then delivers the grim news that the members of the infiltration team have been wiped out. The bearded behemoth immediately perks up upon hearing the news and does not waste a moment before asking if both of them kicked the bucket. I guess he is talking about that Grampire, who just got burned to crisp, and that cocky speedy woman, who got knocked out by the Sword Saint candidate. Anyway, the guy in the hat reports back that they have scrubbed all communication devices and working cameras using mana waves, and they had planned to hit the rendezvous point for the common infiltration. But neither of them showed up. The big fuck then asks about their previous reports, where they had been told that the Mountain Army and the Sword Saint candidate will not going to be in this battle. The man with the hat confirms, mentioning that this is exactly what they had been told before the infiltration. So, naturally, the elephant is curious to know that if the Sword Saint is not in the mix, then who killed those two goons? He asks if that girl Seo Yunha, the daughter of the Holy Knight Order captain, is the one who did it. The reporter then mentions that they cannot be so sure about that either, but they have no choice but to assume that Seo Yunha is the one who did it, which makes her stronger than they had expected. By the way, this woman with horns is known as Carol, and she commands this big elephant to go down there and make sure to wipe out the military command himself. I can feel that this guy does not like being bossed around, and he throws down his gigantic weird-ass weapon on the ground out of frustration while steaming off about how he has to deal with all this crap. As soon as this man throws down this pillar, a portal appears in the area. There, a system notification also arrives with a warning, mentioning that the assembly zone of evil has been declared in the area and dark attribute stats are increased by 50%. Undead attribute healing power is also increased by 50%, and the number of monsters coming out of the gate also increases by 100%. While cracking his fingers like a big boss, this baldy McBeardface suggests taking the strongest one down first. But Carol reminds him once again, strictly telling him that his target is the military command, not Seo Yunha. The frustrated baldy turns around, asking if she thinks of him as a clown or something. He makes it clear that he can take them out in one strike. But still, the lady persists, telling him that the others will take care of Seo Yunha, so he better do as he is told. Suddenly, heavy footsteps, likely made of metal, echo on the ground as a figure with a face ablaze with reddish energy marches forth. These huge, menacing giants pour out of the portal, their edgy appearance sending chills down my spine at first glance. Carol's face immediately lights up with a cocky smile as she anticipates the moment when Seo Yunha will fall into despair. On the other side of the mountain, as our hero is sprinting down to reach the barracks, he reveals to us that in his past life, 2 vampires made an appearance. But considering the fanatic he just fought, he is pretty sure that there must be many more vampires to fight, since he cannot recall seeing that guy in his past life. He is giving it his all to reach the barracks before it is too late because he cannot bear to lose someone as important as Sergeant Kim Se-hee. As he enters the vicinity, he unleashes the pegs he received as a reward from the military after that Red Gate incident. After gearing up for the battle ahead, he charges straight at the mindless creatures with his weapons floating around him. As soon as a skeleton notices someone behind it, it turns around. But before it can react, the holy energy-infused peg pierces through it, then another zombie takes hit as well. But this is not cutting it. Corporal Lee targets each and every zombie in the vicinity, smashing them down with the pegs like it is no big deal. There is not just 1 or 2 or 10, but a sheer number of these pegs, all aimed at the same thing. With a final roar of determination to save Sergeant Kim Se-hee, he launches all the pegs towards the creatures, clearing his path by smashing those abominations down. The scene transitions back inside the dormitories, where Sergeant Kim is about to be smashed by the sword. But before the sword could land on her, a green aura starts pouring out of her body, grabbing the sword immediately. This aura takes the shape of a woman that dominates over the pile of bones, and the lady sternly demands to know who gave this sucker permission to infiltrate the women's barracks completely naked. As you can imagine, her aura punches the skeleton, sending him hurtling back outside through the window. It appears that Sergeant Lee Hyunwook has also arrived at the scene, witnessing the skeleton flying out of the window. He immediately calls out to everyone, asking if they are okay. Rushing inside, he tells them he has come to rescue them, but his words practically get stuck in his throat when he sees the lady beating the living daylights out of the skeleton single-handedly. The lady turns to him, asking who is rescuing whom, because she does not seem to feel the need to be rescued by anyone. Well, I guess our hero underestimated her big time. On the other hand, the lady who does not know what this guy's deal is wonders why this bastard is trying to act cool after popping out of nowhere. Although she does not know him, our hero knows her pretty well. Apparently, Kim Se-hee, despite being a spirit sorcerer, has a history of specializing in assassination. 5 years after the second wave, she was deployed on a special mission to assassinate the king of the Orc Kingdom founded in Shanghai and left a mark in history in a match to the death against the Orc King, Stonox. This is precisely why when our hero officially started his duty, he was not with her. Not sure about her, but the other ladies have started to catch on to see who this man actually is. The ladies start snickering while they are in their night suits, leaving our idiot thoroughly embarrassed. He immediately turns his head around, while the ladies continue to whisper to each other. One tells the other that this man was supposed to be handsome, and the other responds that she did not see him up close that time. The guy immediately starts stuttering out, his voice all shaky, asking who is calling the shots right now. The lady, looking a bit hesitant and adjusting her gear, kind of reluctantly admits she is the one in charge. Out of the blue, another woman shows up, urgency dripping from her voice as she announces the armory is now open. Still avoiding eye contact with the ladies, our guy says he will hold down the fort here while they gear up. Sergeant Kim Se-hee questions if he can handle it solo, and he just shrugs, urging them to hustle because his mana is not unlimited. Suddenly, his walkie-talkie rings, where Corporal Park Jun-no can be heard reporting. Park Jun-no reports that most personnel from Barracks 1 have been evacuated as instructed, and the platoon leader has moved to Barracks 2. Upon hearing the report, our hero gives him a verbal thumbs up for his job. I'm guessing that the guy who came in the car and died a while ago was just the platoon leader. Just as the zombies are swarming the entire area, a light starts to shimmer brightly behind them, and seeing this, even our hero's jaw practically hangs in the air wide open. And as the scene shifts, we see Seo Yuna totally geared up, burning down those monsters with just a flick of her sword. As she swoops toward our hero, she is utterly shocked to see Lee Hyun-wook here once again. With graceful steps and feathers floating around her, she asks our hero if he defeated that vampire, to which our hero nonchalantly says yes. Sergeant Kim Se-hee immediately salutes her senior and reports back that the personnel in Barracks 2 will be armed soon enough. I guess our hero is not exactly thrilled about the glare he is getting from Seo Yuna. She is totally thrown off to realize that this guy just evacuated Barracks 1 and is even supporting Barracks 2 like he has got the whole situation under control. Since our hero cannot speak before his senior, he just rolls his eyes over to the other side. Just then, another system window pops up, which we have seen before at the start, so feel free to pause to read the contents. And with that notification, the zombies have started to emanate an even fiercer aura. It does not take the ladies long to catch on that there is some kind of totem in action. Basically, a totem is an installation type item that influences the area with magical effects. Well, this might seem like bad news to the ladies, but our hero is just grinning like a greedy bastard upon learning about that item. It is embedded with several devil's medallions, and he is itching to get his hands on it. He has got to move fast before someone else snatches it. Sergeant Lee then spills the beans to the platoon leader that the vampire he fought earlier is not flying solo. The redhead just shrugs, saying she already figured that out. But what is really frying her circuits is how they are controlling these mindless zombies like puppets on strings. She is pretty sure this is not no coincidence, that these monsters are wandering around here. It is more like a coordinated terror attack. The redhead then orders everyone to gear up and hunker down until reinforcements roll in. After that, she uncomfortably leans over to our hero, basically telling him he is tagging along to the command control room. The order catches the man off guard, and he just kind of echoes it back in disbelief. Guess he does not have much wiggle room to refuse since it is coming straight from his senior. Anyway, the scene then flips to the underground bunker command control room. There we see this chunky dude with a massive axe, and standing beside him is the familiar orange head. It is chaos down there. All the communication gear and surveillance cameras are all fried. And someone is seemingly pounding on the front door like they own the place. Probably that bearded behemoth, trying to crash the military command party without an invite. Both of the goons are literally freaking out because, according to them, only someone above the level of an orc could break through a double barrier door. And if that mysterious guy barges in, fighting in such a cramped space is gonna be a nightmare. Fatty's face is all bulging veins, probably from sheer stress. He tells the platoon leader that once that door goes down and Mr. Mystery enters, he has got the green light to blast him along with that guy to Kingdom Come. After making that much clear, the dude starts howling like a banshee to unleash his berserker powers. Instead of his usual fat ass, he bulks up with some serious muscle. After his transformation, he warns the platoon leader that if someone busts through that door, it is game over for both of them. But he is dead set on taking down that bastard, even if it means kicking the bucket himself. Then, the big moment comes, and the bearded behemoth smashes the door with a punch, sending both soldiers stumbling back from the force. This second coming of Bigfoot saunters through the rather normal-sized door, accompanied by those undead creatures. As he enters, he mocks these military guys for their futile attempts to guard this place. But as he stands before the fatty, the baldy is a bit moved to see this weakling before him, because he did not expect to meet some trash guarding this place. The once gigantic fatty now looks like a toddler compared to this big motherfucker with a beard. The soldier is literally shaking in his boots to see such a huge guy with such sheer size. The man before him looks way bigger than him, even though he is in his berserker mode. He is scared, but still, he knows what he has got to do. So, while he swings his giant axe in an attempt to strike this bastard, the bearded behemoth just laughs menacingly while cracking his fingers, asking if he is seriously going to fight this puny punk. Just as the soldier is ready to deliver the blow and the bearded man laughs in his face, everything freezes, and the chapter ends right there, leaving us on a cliffhanger. Before we dive into the epic showdown between Bigfoot and our hefty friend, let us take a step back to a time when our hero was putting in the hard yards training this big guy. After numerous failed attempts, Sergeant Lee Hyun-wook finally tells the hefty one not to recklessly squander his mana, delivering a gentle bonk on his head to emphasize the point. It seems our hero is attempting to instill some control over mana in this fella because every time he goes berserk, it fizzles out instantly. This guy just cannot seem to rein in his mana and ends up blasting it at our hero. But Sergeant does not give up on him, keeping him on the grind until evening falls, leaving the hefty one completely exhausted, gasping for air. Just as our hero calls it a day, Lee Won-sik pipes up with a question from behind. Hearing the fatty's call, the sergeant turns around, asking what is on his mind. That is when the hefty one asks what to do if he faces a stronger opponent in a real battle. Hearing this, Sergeant Lee cockily clicks his tongue, reminding the hefty one that he will probably just run away, given his lousy character. The poor guy tries to defend himself, but the corporal remains crude in his words. He further intimidates him with a light punch to his hand, questioning if he dares to talk back before his seniors. Before leaving, the sergeant emphasizes one last time for him not to run away. He encourages him to always face his challenges head-on, to act like a soldier, to protect his comrades behind him, and in return, his comrades will protect him as well. And now, the moment has finally come for Lee Won-suk to put all of our hero's teachings into action. Even though he's scared like a cat facing this behemoth, he swings his sword nonetheless. Seeing his resolve, Lieutenant Lee Min-hee follows suit. He raises his hand and conjures up a portal right behind the behemoth, giving the green signal for the hefty one to take that bastard down. Sure enough, the fatty manages to push the behemoth out of the command room, and the portal immediately shuts down behind them. The big bearded behemoth just flashes a devilish grin, clearly enjoying the moment, thinking he's about to have an easy time squashing this puny guy. It seems that it is not going to be that simple, because Lee Won-suk has started his transformation, and almost instantly, his size triples, and muscles just bulge so fast they tear his uniform apart. Still, the behemoth just chuckles, asking Won-suk if he seriously thinks he is a fighter. Meanwhile, his own hands start morphing into these bizarre, claw-like things with mana storage stones embedded in them. On the flip side, the fatty's doing his best not to let his mana scatter. And luckily, he nails his transformation, which really makes his heart jump out of joy. Looks like Lee Hyun-wook's lessons really paid off after all, as Won-suk is confident he can handle this level 2 berserker body. Without skipping a beat, he charges at the behemoth, swinging his axe like lightning, all fueled by the urge to protect those behind him. The one who is about to take that hit just stands tall while grinding cockily as if he has everything figured out. But surprisingly enough, the fatty manages to land a devastating hit on that arrogant bastard. Before we get too deep into the action and spoil the fun, the scene cuts to the underground bunker of the 3rd Anti-Monster Brigade's 1st Battalion. Inside, we find our hero along with Lieutenant Seo Yoon-ha sprinting down the path at full speed. As they run, Sergeant Lee reveals that their first priority was supposed to be dealing with the totem, some kind of tool boosting the undead creature's powers. But our hero has not got a clue why they are sprinting towards the control room. I guess he is about to find out soon, because out of nowhere, someone busts through the tunnel's wall like it is no big deal, sending both soldiers staggering back from the force of the blow. And not surprisingly, the culprit behind this wall-busting action is none other than Baldy McShine, holding poor Won-suk by the throat after pounding the poor guy to a bloody mess. It is pretty funny how the author chose one of the most disliked characters from the manhua to use as a punching bag, just to give us a clear idea of how powerful this guy really is. As soon as Sergeant Lee spots his nearly dead subordinate in that bastard's hand, Hyun-wook just goes absolutely nuts. Meanwhile, poor Won-suk, with his last bit of strength, reminds our hero that he has finally proven his point that he is not the kind of person who runs away from danger. Just as he says this, poor Won-suk gets another devastating blow to his face, blood splattering everywhere as the ground beneath him shatters from the force, and all the while, the baldy bastard asks if that is enough to keep his mouth shut from yapping. Lady Seo also loses at this time, straight up demanding that this bastard get the hell away from her soldiers. Out of the blue, Sergeant Lee surprises her by flat out telling her to scram. He orders her to hit the control room immediately, where she has got to rally the troops to hunt down that totem and get it out of there as soon as possible. Well, the next thing he says is just a blank bubble, but judging by our hero's expression, he is probably plotting some serious payback on this jerk. Whatever the sergeant whispered, it sure left her jaw hanging. Meanwhile, the big behemoth just chuckles, realizing he has got the daughter of the Holy Knight Order's captain right where he wants. Before taking off, she gives him one last order as his senior, basically telling him not to die, and she means it. And off she goes, sprinting away, leaving our hero alone with this behemoth. Before getting into the thick of it, the boy tells the baldy that he never really liked the fatty, especially seeing him as just a musclehead with no brains. But Won-suk changed his mind by fighting to the end just because he was told to do so. And now, in Won-suk's honor, he is ready to risk it all to take revenge for his sacrifice. As soon as he finishes speaking, he takes one of the mana stones and gulps down all that sweet juice, which triggers a notification known as Mana Tank Rank 3. Apparently, it is supposed to boost his mana to a solid 100%, but there is also a little warning about the possible side effects of overdoing it. With his mana topped up to brim, he dashes forward full throttle. Meanwhile, this idiotic dickhead has no clue what the hell this dude is on about, and just laughs at our hero's face for charging recklessly like that, but invites him to come at him nonetheless. As you can imagine, my guy catches this beast off guard by slipping right through his wide open legs. After a smooth slide and a quick touchdown on the ground, he points his finger straight at the clueless man. Just as the bearded behemoth is trying to figure out what is going on, something shiny comes flying at him from the front. Zoom out, and you see these pegs smashing into the behemoth from behind. giving him a good wallop. And just when you think that is it, the divine arrow swoops in, aimed straight for his bald head. Right at that moment, our hero unleashes his divine spear without a second thought. After swinging his spear, something unexpected catches his attention, and it appears that this big guy just managed to grab all of those pegs in nick of time and also stop the spear, along with that arrow. Once he is completely transformed into this alien-like thing, he proceeds to taunt our hero, asking if he intends to defeat him with these toys. With that little verbal jab, he slams Sergeant Lee with his gigantic feet, sending him flying in the opposite direction, which leaves his spear hanging midair. But my guy is not without his tricks, because he had already activated his indomitable steel body just before the hit landed, saving him from that deadly blow. After regaining his balance, Lee glances to his left, only to see his poor fellow soldier lying there like a deflated balloon, which is just pissing the hell out of him. In a flash, the big guy swoops back into attack, telling our hero not to get distracted while fighting. Not surprisingly, the boy leaps out from there, leaving the behemoth swinging at thin air and crashing into the ground. Sergeant Lee takes a moment to glance back, only to find this jerk menacingly hovering right above his face. Without wasting a beat, the behemoth keeps on chasing our hero in an attempt to land a deadly blow. My guy's like a slippery fish, dodging every move with such finesse you would not believe. After that little game of cat and mouse, the beast is almost caught up to Sergeant Lee. Just before he strikes once again, our hero activates his indomitable steel body, and after taking the blow right above him, he crashes into the wall with such force that the concrete shatters on impact, even with his steel body activated. He still lets out a grunt that could wake up the neighbors. Once he busts a giant hole in the wall with a single swing, he laughs at our hero for thinking those few measly holy power weapons would do anything, all while talking big about revenge. As he is saying that, some weird metal rambling voice catches his attention. As you might have already guessed, it is our hero, making those weapons dance with his metal manipulation abilities. He agrees with the bastard's earlier talk, admitting that a few weapons will not scratch this guy's butt. And now, he is pretty confident that a whole room filled with armory might do the trick. And as it turns out, we are in the restricted area of the 3rd Anti-Magic Brigade's 1st Battalion Armory. I guess now it actually makes kinda sense as to why this guy took that hit just to reach this side of the tunnels. While the bearded behemoth is scratching his head, clueless about what to do next, my man just busts open another mana tank, pushing his mana reserves back to a whopping 100% once again. But let us not forget about that warning about excessive use of mana tanks. Judging by the look on our hero's face, it is pretty clear that his mana stone abuse has finally started to take a toll on his body. But before we dive into the final showdown, the scene cuts back to the control room where Orange Head can be seen using his rap abilities to lure out some of the zombies. However, he is not sure how much longer he can keep it up because he is already pushing his limits. Before he completely exhausts himself, he orders the operator officer to restore the communication channel, and also instructs the other soldiers to prepare to fire as they are about to come under attack. Shortly after, once the lieutenant is finally exhausted, the portal closes immediately, leaving the undead creatures a clear path to march forward. With no place to run, the guy just tumbles down, recoiling in fear. As a zombie hovers over his head with a dagger, the terrified lieutenant commands his troops to shoot. But before anyone can open fire, Lieutenant Seo slices the skeleton in half. After cutting that bastard in two, she asks the terrified Lee Min-hee if he is doing alright. Judging by his scared face, we can tell he's not exactly okay, but seeing Seo Yunha in front of him definitely perks his spirit up. Once the whole horde of zombies is burned to a crisp with divine fire, Seo Yunha reassures her fellow soldiers that the threat is neutralized for now. Orange Head could not be more relieved, because if the command room had been overrun, they would have been toast. While they are catching their breath, a private comes up with some good news, saying they have finally connected to the emergency communication network, giving them a chance to contact the 3rd Battalion. As soon as Orange Head tells his soldier to request reinforcements, the soldier gets hit with shocking news. With a terrified look, he turns around, only to reveal that a gate has opened there too. Checking out the 3rd Battalion, those intruders look way scarier than those undead creatures, and the news hits both lieutenants like a ton of bricks, leaving them frozen in shock. Even the Blue Flower Guild is in chaos, with gates wreaking havoc there too. When Orange Head orders them to connect with the 6th Battalion or the 5th, it is the same story. Nearby units and major guilds confirm gates are popping up everywhere. The soldier looks absolutely terrified while mentioning that everyone's asking for backup from each other, and things are starting to look like a scene straight out of hell. The lieutenant's faces are back to shocked mode, while the soldiers just casually dropping one bad news after another like it is no big deal. Thankfully, the battalion commander connects with the control room. Before they dive into the conversation, the junior gives a salute to his senior. The commander tells them he is rushing back to base, but it might take a bit, so they have gotta hang tight. As his chopper zooms down to its destination, the commander asks about the current situation. Seo Yunha mentions that multiple gates have popped up simultaneously in the camp and major guilds, causing a crisis likely due to external players or villain groups. And on top of that, most of the higher-ups, including executives, are missing in action, probably already taken out. The senior then asks if they have got any more bad news to report. To which, the lady just shakes her head with no. Before finally cutting the transmission, the commander puts his faith in both of the lieutenants to clean up the mess. With such a huge responsibility left on their shoulders, the girl gathers up her courage and proceeds to inquire of the commander about something. The gorilla gives her the green light to ask. Before speaking up, she admits that she might sound unreasonable, but she still suggests giving temporary command to Sergeant Lee Hyunwook. Needless to say, the orange head finds himself frustrated at her absurd suggestion. I guess his shock at this news is understandable since he despises our hero with every fiber of his being. Though the captain did not react that strongly, he is still curious to know the reason behind her suggestion, especially since she has always been cautious and suspicious about Sergeant Lee's recent actions. To this question, the lady agrees, mentioning that his irrational behavior naturally warrants caution. But that was the case until now. While she is talking about him, the scene immediately cuts back to him at the moment where he is smashing those mana stones right on his chest. With his mana tank topped up, he goes ahead and hijacks the entire arsenal of weapons. Before unleashing chaos on the behemoth, our hero drops the name which goes as the indestructible Okemok, leaving the big guy scratching his head wondering how our hero knows him. Instead of just shooting the breeze, my man decides to rain down all those weapons right on the beast, throwing them like it is no big deal. Surprisingly, the baldy does not even flinch, taking all those weapons like a pro. And as the weapons rain down, they are getting wrecked as soon as they hit the behemoth's tough build. Meanwhile, Sergeant Lee has already burned through 13% of his mana reserves. Yet, this guy does not even bat an eye and mocks our hero's feeble attempt to take him down. The monster even gives our hero props for his cleverness from the get-go, and invites him to give it his all. Despite Sergeant Lee's mana dropping with each passing moment, the behemoth keeps on trucking despite the weapon onslaught. Seeing this, Sergeant Lee grits his teeth before unleashing all he has got towards the beast, dropping his mana down to 66%. But even after all that, the behemoth stands tall. He is pushed back by the relentless barrage, and eventually, his shield starts falling apart. Still, the bastard finds it hilarious, laughing his head off because he knows anyone relying solely on strength ends up biting the dust. As the mana drops below 40%, the relentless barrage comes to a halt, while the monster gets deadly close to our hero. With a swing of his hand, the Bigfoot destroys the ground beneath him. Once the dust settles, we see our hero's legendary spear sprinting towards the beast. Just in time, my guy jumps out and leaps into the air, landing right behind the behemoth's head effortlessly. Close to the bastard's ear, Sergeant Lee gives him a piece of his mind, before piercing him with his divine spear. Once the spear enters the game, Sergeant wastes no time before unleashing its divine powers, which takes his remaining mana down to only 2%. Before he finishes the dude off for good, he reminds him of his own words about how he is gonna end up just like all those other fools who acted tough. With those final words, he sets the bastard on fire, burning him down just like he did with his comrade, while the guy screams his lungs out for the last time. And all the while Sergeant Lee was duking it out with this dude, Lieutenant Seo spills about how she suspected him of being a spy, infiltrating and aiming to wreck everything. But after seeing him in action, she is now sure he is not a spy. In fact, he is just always one step ahead in dealing with the crisis. Plus, every time there has been trouble in Seoul lately, our hero's been right there, holding the key to fixing things and making sure everyone stays safe. With just 1% mana left, our hero heads over to his fallen comrade, apologizing for not being able to save him. He promises to recover his body even if the bunker comes crashing down. After the brawl, we cut back to the control room, where the lieutenant is done explaining everything about our hero, and as for her final say, she believes he is the only one fit for the job. With a little grin, the guerrilla commander nods along, agreeing that the right person has shown up at just the right time. Right on cue, Sergeant Lee arrives at the scene, and the commander wastes no breath before giving our hero temporary command of the 3rd Anti-Monster Brigade 1st Battalion. Our hero asks if command authority includes access to the armory, to which the guerrilla says yes. He further asks if he has anything in mind to turn this situation around. Before he takes his next breath, Lee Hyunwook clenches his fist and confidently says yes, which makes it clear he has got a plan and is more than ready to make his move. As soon as our hero steps into the command room, the battalion commander hands him temporary command of the 3rd Anti-Monster Brigade, 1st Battalion. Sergeant Hyunwook then asks if this command authority includes access to the armory. The commander replies positively, and when he asks if our hero can turn the situation around, our guy confidently responds with a yes. He's more than ready to finally fight back and beat those bastards to the punch. Back outside, we see the soldiers trying their hardest to shoot down zombies before they can infiltrate barracks number 1. The platoon leader quickly orders his troops to deploy the magic circles. Almost instantly, the magic circles appear in the sky, ready to burn these zombies to a crisp. And burn they do. As soon as the fire starts raining down on these monsters, they begin to incinerate. But despite taking out a big chunk of these zombies, there seems to be no end to them, and this dickhead knows it all too well. Just as those zombies charge through the fire straight towards the barracks, the scene cuts to barracks number 2. The situation there is worse than ever, with a shitload of zombies ravaging the entire place. They've already made it into the dormitory building, and the poor ladies inside are struggling against these undead creatures. One of them even gets brutally stabbed by a zombie. Immediately, the platoon leader orders everyone to retreat before any more soldiers fall dead. He also commands the ladies to get to the upper floor, but a soldier responds that they couldn't save the people on the second floor since there are just too many monsters to handle. While the ladies are retreating to the rooftop, the sergeant is left behind, gritting her teeth, unsure how to deal with the mess. The next scene takes us to our drunken hero, who is slashing down zombies with a simple dagger with such speed we can barely see him moving. And in an instant, he clears out the entire guard post, leaving the soldiers there utterly astounded by his display of power. One of the soldiers even asks Sergeant Choi In-jun if he is alright. Well, it looks like he's apparently not doing really well. Despite his fast speed and raw strength, these zombies are proving to be really tough to deal with, especially because of the activated totems which are giving these critters a boost in strength and defense, and to top it off, they just keep popping up. Despite thinking these zombies were tough, this guy is just getting pumped up seeing the challenge coming at him. You see, individually, the skeletons and zombies in the barracks aren't too scary, but with the crazy numbers pouring out of the gate, this army becomes unbeatable, and they are estimated to be at least the size of a division, ranging from 12,000 to 20,000. And who is giving us all these details? Well, none other than Sergeant Lee Hyun-wook. He is making it clear that with this many critters, it will not be long before our main camp bites the dust. That is when the orange head raises his hand and suggests establishing a base in the bunker and responding from there. Our hero simply states that they cannot do that, which totally startles both of the soldiers present there. He explains that if they hide, the monsters will just become a roaming army of doom controlled by whoever is behind those totems. And if those suckers make it to Namsan City, we are talking about hundreds of thousands of people biting the dust for no good reason. Naturally, the orange head asks some obvious question, wondering what the hell they are supposed to be doing. Well, my dude's got it all figured out and tells Lieutenant Seo to round up the guard post personnel and search for the totems. The girl then asks what they are going to do about the zombies until they find those totems. Our hero just shrugs and says they will corral the skeletons and zombies into one spot by opening up the guard post. Of course, Orange Head thinks it is crazy. It is like playing with death, because if those two types of monsters team up, everyone is going to fucking die. But our hero's got another trick up his sleeve, and with a cocky grin, he says if he and Orange Head teams up with him, they have got this. It will be the monsters who end up screwed, not them. Not surprisingly, the second platoon leader is totally lost hearing how he could help our hero so much. Before we can hear any response from our boy, the scene cuts to the tired face of Sergeant Choi In-jun, gasping for air. When he hears our hero telling him to find the totems, he immediately refuses, mentioning how he's supposed to search all of Namsan. Hyun-wook's inner Steel Emperor facepalms himself in disappointment, and tells this drunkard that the squad members are already scouting specific points in Namsan, so he should not have much to do. While In-jun is busy on his walkie-talkie, another wave of zombies arrives, and the soldiers standing there are just freaking out. On the other hand, Lee Hyun-wook makes it clear that he has command authority as of right now, so In-jun must follow as he is told. Of course, the drunkard starts pretending to have weak communication and cannot hear our hero. I guess the sergeant is not too disappointed to see this kind of behavior, since he already knows what a pain in the ass this dude can be. So, he bends his finger to get the honey out, and simply utters the magical word which goes as, Ballantine's 21-year-old whiskey, and that does it. This fucker is more than enough to comply our hero's command. But he also does not shy away saying that he would like to crank the number up to the 30. Well, Lee Hyun-wook just sighs in utter hopelessness, seeing how this dude never takes things seriously in the slightest. Through the walkie-talkie, the maniac asks our hero once again if he actually wants him to go look out for the totems, to which the boy just agrees to comply with his wishes and gives him the green light to head forward. With an eager face, exploding with happiness, the maniac immediately decides to get down to business. With that settled, Lieutenant Seo also decides to move to the rendezvous point to meet the drunken maniac. Before she leaves, the sergeant reassures her that he will join them soon enough, so he tells her to take care of her squad members in the meantime. The lady surely reassures the boy back, letting him know that she is not planning to lose any more her soldiers either. In this chaotic battlefield, a drone arrives with the command center broadcast blaring. It is a clear instruction: cease attacks and get indoors. Everyone scrambles to obey, hustling back as fast as they can. Then comes the order for the mages to throw up barriers and brace for the zombies' impending arrival. They are already breaching the guard post, closing in on barracks number 2 at lightning speed. In a flash, they are halfway there. Next thing you know, the broadcast telling us they have hit the spot. The zombies flood the area like there is a Black Friday sale about to hit the final hour. From her vantage point above the rooftop, the sergeant can only watch this horrifying sight, and scoffs at the futility of trying to stop these monsters with just a barrier. That is when she receives an order from the command room, instructing her to manipulate the wind inside the barracks, and maintain a wind speed below 3 meters per second. Of course, the lady immediately starts doing her assigned job, even though she has no clue what the heck our hero is cooking up. The scene finally cuts back to our hero inside the 3rd Anti-Monster Brigade Armory Hall, where he's broadcasting those instructions to everyone through the Red Head's spatial magic. Meanwhile, Orange Head is pretty blown away. He never imagined he would be able to link his warp zone to a specific object to send things far away. Even though he can only summon his warp portals as far as 80 meters away, the drone has passed 800 meters already, which is astonishing. What is creeping the hell out of him is the realization that our hero knows how to utilize these powers better than he ever knew. Once the drone hits a kilometer up in the sky, they lock it in at that height. With the platoon leader all set with his warp stretched out to the max, our hero whips out one of the swords and fires it straight down, a sight visible from miles away. Even Dracula over there cannot miss the blue light streaking through the sky, smashing that skeleton into 1,000 pieces. Not only does it wreck that one undead, but the impact also scatters nearby zombies and skeletons as well. It is such a big hit you can see it for miles around. Once the two soldiers give the thumbs up that the attack hit its mark with zero margin for error, the sergeant wastes no time chugging those mana tanks, filling his own mana right up to the max. Once he is finally feeling surge of energy, he starts manipulating all of these swords, and every kind of weaponry and rains down a steel rain for above the sky. As soon as those swords hit the ground, they incinerate everything in their path. Even the ground beneath shatters into pieces, sending those mindless creatures scattering. Lieutenant Seo and the other soldiers are absolutely floored by this unexpected move our hero pulled off. Even Sergeant Kim Sehi and that arrogant dude who always has it out for our hero are astonished to see this. The Steel Emperor finally reveals its full glory, and as the steel rains down from above, he reminds himself that he will not let a single person die in this battle. Seeing that incredible sight, even the Dracula lady finds it unbelievable. If she had not seen it with her own eyes, she would never have believed it in the first place. The boy just pushes himself to its last bit of strength. Even blood from his nose and mouth starts to leak out, probably because he has been abusing those mana stones over and over at this point, which is probably taking a negative effect on his body. And in the blink of an eye, the entire place is now just littered with the dead bodies of the zombies, scattered across like confetti. Of course, seeing this sight absolutely makes the lady jump in joy, who is certain that it is impossible to take down this amount of monsters, and now she is praising our hero for his mad skills and strength. Sergeant Lee Hyun-wook then broadcasts to evacuate the injured and eliminate all remaining monsters. He repeats his command once again, and while this dickhead is nursing the injured, he totally cannot believe his eyes at how powerful our hero is. Meanwhile, Ying-jun appears to be totally clueless who is behind this attack, and wonders aloud that he did not know they also had a ranked player in their battalion. To which the lady simply states that his strength just cannot explain his true potential. Back at our hero, he's just beat, taking deep breaths to catch a break. Meanwhile, the platoon leader next to him is just blown away, realizing that Hyun-wook used his warp ability like a boss, unleashing an attack that is way beyond what even a ranked player could do. Sergeant collapses on his knees from exhaustion and the toll this ability took on him. The platoon leader quickly asks if he's okay. Instead of worrying about himself, the sergeant insists the battle is not over yet, so he better keep his focus to maintain that warp open. The Orange Head admits he's also exhausted himself as well, and cannot keep the warp open much longer. But our hero just tells him to hang on tight for a bit more. Back on the ground with this crazy Dracula lady, while she is eating her nails out of confusion and anxiety, her other member arrives and drops some bad news that the big bearded behemoth, who is deployed to the command control room, is not responding, while all of the undead army has been wiped out as well. He asks her if they should wait until the last gate is opened. Initially, he gets a cold response from her, telling him to shut the heck up and let her think through this mess. She is sure that this was not the power of the Sword Saint, nor was it a holy knight. She did not get any info about this guy, and with an area-wide attack of this scale, she is almost betting that there must be a high-ranking military executive in the mix. The shady guy speaks up again, telling the lady that there is a scout here, and as she looks behind her, she finds a soldier standing there behind the tree trunk. Once the cat's out of the bag, the Shadow Man immediately springs into action and starts following the soldier, who is running down at the speed of light. The dude then starts yelling, reporting back that Totem has been spotted and gives a precise location. Of course, everyone is startled to hear this unexpectedly good news, but right now the poor soldier is sweating profusely because he's about to get caught by these maniacs. Before he can report how deep in shit he is, the poor guy is immediately grabbed by that monster, and his walkie-talkie falls to the ground. On the other end of the transmission, Lee Hyun-wook screams his lungs out and immediately reports back to the command center, telling them to move the drones to the reported location immediately. Lieutenant Seo tells Choi and Jun to reach the reported location right away. My guy confidently states that all he needs is 1 second, and off he goes, disappearing immediately. The scene transitions back to the woman perched above the mountain, looking rather displeased that they were only able to grab a single soldier. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Seo also charges forward with utmost caution with her soldiers. In the next moment, her eyes fall upon this giant menacing monster. Before they know it, they find themselves surrounded by these towering giants, and they immediately start swinging. But the corporal quickly pulls up his trusty shield, saving himself and his companion from being crushed. Unfortunately, my guy's shield is not nearly enough to stop this bastard. It shatters with a single blow like it is no big deal, busting the corporal's hand along the way. He screams his lungs out in utter pain. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Seo is also trying her hardest to keep up with those monsters, struggling to maintain her footing. To make things worse, her armor starts to melt away just from the mere touch of that monster. She puts all her effort into flinging the monster back. She immediately shouts at the soldiers, informing them that these monsters are rocking haunted armor. If they touch them, the affected parts will start to rot away immediately. The lady then asks Corporal Minty if he is okay, to which he responds that his shoulder has been dislocated. Meanwhile, everyone finds themselves totally surrounded by these creatures, and they ask the platoon leader what they should do now. Lieutenant Seo immediately commands her troops to stand behind her. Right away, her shield grows wings, which are so huge they can be seen from afar. With those angel wings, she creates a barrier surrounding them. Once these cursed vile creatures step forward towards the barrier, they start to burn. Apparently, this barrier is made of some holy light she calls the Holy Dome. The lieutenant then tells the soldiers that for about 7 minutes, they will be able to receive the holy power inside the dome. If soldiers get a chance to run during the battle, she tells them to prioritize finding the totems. The soldier then points out that these things are so strong, and they would need an entire platoon just to fight one, so they ask if she will be able to handle them alone. The lady gives them all the confirmation they need. Without hesitation, she takes off from the ground, immediately reaches one of the monsters, and with her holy light activated, she thrusts her sword right into the bastard's skull. With a little extra force, she blows away that monster's head. But another monster raises its giant sword and comes crashing down. Seo Yuna jumps out of the way and takes her perch on yet another monster's shoulder. She starts thrusting her sword again, and the holy light shines brightly, leaving the soldiers stunned at the sight of a holy knight in action. Now it makes sense why they call Lieutenant Seo a berserker when she has her sword in hand, because this Giga Chad lady is just smashing down those monsters with a single flick of her sword. Suddenly, her sword loses its holy light, and the monsters come charging at her from the front. Without hesitation, she steps onto the tip of that monster's sword and finds herself crashing into a tree behind, because she cannot afford to touch these monsters without her holy powers. The holy dome surrounding the soldiers also starts to disappear. As the lady struggles to stand up after her crash landing, a system notification pops up, indicating that the curse of Grigori Azazel is spreading and all holy power in the area is being suppressed. Grigori is an organization of fallen angels, and Azazel is their leader. The relic of the fallen angel used by Azazel is an anti-holy power item. Looks like we finally have our answers as to why Lieutenant Seo lost her touch of holy powers. This Dracula lady is exuding an anti-holy power mist, and it seems Seo is really in deep trouble. This Dracula woman is really pissed off, and it is clear she is here to humiliate Lieutenant Seo by making her eat dirt. The scene cuts back to the moment when our scouting soldier was caught red-handed by the vampire. Lady Seo immediately orders Choi and-jun to rush to the reported location. With a nod, he bolts away like a flash of lightning and promises that it would only take him a second to reach there. As soon as he clears the woods, he finally spots the robed vampire. Well, a big smile spreads across his face at the sight of the fiend standing there. Without hesitation, he aims to slice through the filthy hand of the vampire holding the soldier. His blade cuts through, but the hand unexpectedly turns into mist and vanishes, leaving the soldier to fall back to the ground. Yeon-jun rushes to catch the soldier before he hits the floor, and the vampire turns into that mist form. After seeing this fiend turn into smoke, it all makes sense to our drunkard hero as to why he did not even feel like he cut through anything. But then, the vampire further surprises Yeon-jun again by vanishing into the dark. He then starts yelling to Kim Kyung-jin, telling him to wake the hell up because Sergeant Lee Hyun-wook will not give him the whiskey he promised if there are any casualties. Suddenly, the shadowy fiend tries to ambush Yeon-jun, but my guy is way too fast to get stabbed by these sneaky attempts and lets the fiend know he's just too slow. The fiend then chases Yeon-jun while he's holding onto the soldier. Once again, the Misty Man tries to attack from behind. Yeon-jun is amazed to see that this creature has started to match his speed and immediately leaps off into the air and makes a safe distance right away. By now, the robed guy seems really agitated, or probably his face is just like that. In any case, this grumpy man now has no doubts why this bespectacled dude is a candidate for Sword Saint and how he wiped out the infiltration team alone in seconds. But he makes it clear that Yeon-jun's abilities are useless against him because he cannot be stabbed by mere swords. Surprisingly, Yeon-jun has sustained a cut on his body, and the robed figure suggests he join the League of Vampires, saying it would be a waste if a talent like our tipsy hero died needlessly here. He tries to allure him by promising that gaining the power of a vampire could make him stand at the top of the world. Hearing this, something strikes Yeon-jun's mind while the old coot keeps yammering about joining the vampires to become a chosen one. But enough is enough. Yeon-jun shouts back at this blabbermouth, telling him to shut his load of nonsense, and asks him how he intends to compensate for the high-rank uniform he just tore. Hearing this, the bad guy has no clue what Yeon-jun is talking about and becomes infuriated. He knows trying to reason with this idiot guy is the stupidest thing to do. He immediately unleashes one of his techniques known as the Soil of Akron. Apparently, the Soil of Akron has the power to drag the living down using corrupted soil from Akron, a river that crosses into the afterlife. As soon as the Soil of Akron hits our drunkard hero, he can feel a mushy sensation beneath his feet. He warns the soldier to wake up or else he will sink. The grumpy guy reminds Jun that his feet are already trapped, and the more he struggles, the deeper he will sink into the ground. Jun does not seem scared or freaking out about this Soil of Akron stuff. He is more annoyed about the unconscious soldier he's lugging around. Fighting this guy while carrying a dead weight is seriously getting on his nerves. Out of nowhere, the vampire jumps back again, and Jun's feet are already sinking into the ground. Despite trying hard to avoid it, he still gets a nasty cut on his hand. Quick as lightning, he switches the dagger from one hand to the other and slashes at the vampire's hand. But the guy just turns into mist, reminding Jun that stabbing him is useless. The assassin attacks again, and from then on, it is a game of cat and mouse. The assassin's relentless, stabbing at Jun every chance he gets, and eventually, he gives another nasty cut at the back of our drunkard hero. He even starts trash-talking our boy, calling him a disgrace and questioning why he's a sword saint candidate if he cannot even protect his own back. Jun gets annoyed again, reminding the assassin that a swordsman should never get hit from behind. He puffs out his chest and stretches his hand out, telling the assassin he would rather proudly take those cuts head-on. The poor villain has no idea what is up with this guy and feels stupid for even considering bringing him to the Vampire Association. Seems like Jun was keeping his distance from the soldier to keep him from sinking into the ground. He sarcastically thanks the assassin for being so easily fooled. Meanwhile, the villain guy gets cocky again, saying Jun was just unlucky to pick a fight since his speed means nothing against someone who cannot be stabbed. Jun sassily asks him how he can be so sure and if he's ever faced someone who moves at the speed of light. The assassin is not up for casual banter and prepares to strike. But Jun does not even flinch and smirks cockily. But then Jun gets serious. A yellow glow starts to shine around his body, signaling his new power. He readies himself for a punch, and the swamp that was grabbing his leg dries up and shatters into debris, freeing his feet completely. He lunges at the assassin with such speed that the assassin has no idea what is happening. Even the leaves seem suspended in the air, as if time has slowed down for our hero. Jun starts slashing at the assassin's limbs, and within milliseconds, the assassin is cut in places he did not even realize. Finally, Jun goes straight for the head, and in the blink of an eye, the poor guy is shredded into pieces. All now that is left is a cloud of smoke and dust. As it clears, there is Jun standing there. He delivers the news to the defeated villain that he used a sword without divine power, so it hurt even more. But he admits it is still not enough to finish him off, and crushing the totem seems to be the only way. The bald guy on the ground yells at the sword saint, accusing him of cheating, and uses some indecent remarks for our hero. With a smirk, Jun brushes it off, saying he just used the speed of light, nothing fancy. He also adds he's not a fan of the villain's foul language, so he decides to shut him up for good. His hand and dagger glow again with that speed of light power. In a flash, he slices the bad guy into a zillion pieces. Afterward, there is literally nothing left of him. All that speedy action burned through all the calories Jun had, and now he's feeling pretty hungry. He realizes if he pushes his speed any further, he might just keel over. We are back to when that vampire woman shows up with her dark power, a suffocating mist known as Grigori Azael, which suppresses holy powers in the area, catching everyone by surprise. The bitch laughs maniacally, clearly thrilled to finally meet Lady Co and eager to see the face the holy knight makes when dying. Meanwhile, Lady Co is already struggling against the monstrous creatures without her saint powers, and she is practically defenseless at this moment. As a monster lunges at her with a sword, a barrage of steel rods takes it down immediately. And there he is, our Steel Emperor, jumping down from the portal and landing heroically on the ground like a pro. His entrance shocks the vampire lady, Lady Co, and even startles the soldiers around who witness him crashing the party at this critical moment. My guy seems totally pissed and annoyed, demanding to know where the squad member she was chasing after. On the other hand, this blondie lady has no freaking clue who this guy even is because she has never seen him fight. Looks like she is still in the dark that our hero was the one who took down that entire army and the bearded behemoth as well. Meanwhile, the Steel Emperor is absolutely livid. The image of his dead friend immediately pops into his mind, fueling his anger even more. With a terrifying voice, he demands to know where the hell his squad member is. Well, our hero might not already know, but this drunken fool has already saved its soldier. The lady snaps back with her own sass, telling him he should focus on understanding how deep of a mess he's really in instead of worrying about someone who might already be dead and gone. The divine aura surrounding the soldiers starts to fade, and the monsters waste no time lunging at the ordinary soldiers. The Steel Emperor jumps ahead and launches steel rods at the monsters. He signals Lady Co, who jumps into action and strikes the monster's head right away. Meanwhile, another monster immediately charges towards the soldiers. As its sword comes crashing down, the Steel Emperor intervenes once again and saves the day. In a surprising twist, the monster starts attacking its fellow monsters. Before we can start scratching our heads about why this is happening, a system window pops up saying that a new controlling power stronger than the death magic controlling the haunted armor has been activated, Metal Control. It turns out even our hero Lee Hyunwook was not aware of this ability until now. The system notification reveals that activating the new controlling power will disarm the existing control and grant him master authority over the regular living armor. The system asks if he wants to secure this authority and control. Not surprisingly, Lee Hyunwook opts in to control it. The monster growls, and in the next moment, the menacing red aura around it turns into a friendly blue glow. A system window confirms he has secured master authority over the two living armors, but warns that the level of his control power may limit their functions and operational range. The monster immediately strikes, slashing down the head of its own kind, leaving everyone utterly confused. Even the vampire woman is startled by this turn of events. Now she finally realizes this guy's the one who ruined all her fun. But the sergeant's pissed again and makes it clear he's not here to have fun. If she does not give him his soldier back, he will wreck her so hard she will not know what hit her. Meanwhile, Lady Seo accidentally gets too close to the monster and her leg starts to burn. She jumps back immediately. On the other hand, the cocky blonde just chuckles at the sight of our hero, amazed at how full of himself one guy can be. The guy looks around and sees more monsters emerging, surrounding everyone. The lady laughs, reminding him that his fancy area of effect attack earlier was impressive. She was hoping for something exciting, but now she teases him, saying all he did was steal some haunted armor. She goes further, mocking him for not being able to use holy power and wondering what he can really do with just 2 pieces of haunted armor under his control. Did you see that blue energy heading into the woods? That is exactly where my guy is headed next. I guess you noticed it. Even the sergeant admits she is right. He cannot do much to keep her entertained, so he makes it clear he's going to end this as soon as possible. With those words, an arrow emerges out of nowhere, ready to slam into her face. Lee Hyunwook puts every ounce of energy into it. If you do not remember this arrow, let me jog your memory. It is Sir Tristan's fail knot. It always tracks the target and never misses, ignoring magic resistance or any shields the target has. With no choice left, the lady immediately tries to dash out of there while fail knot continues chasing her. The green mist she used to suppress divine powers starts fading away, and Lady Seo's holy power starts returning. Sergeant Lee immediately tells her to handle all those giant haunted armors, and orders the soldiers to find and destroy the totems as soon as possible. The lady tells Lee Hyunwook to team up with our speedy drunkard hero to take down this woman. But my guy is certain he cannot let her slip up for even a second because Kim Kyunjin's life hangs in the balance. It is starting to bug me that they keep bringing up this soldier when Youngjun already saved him. Not sure why they keep mentioning him. Anyway, arrows keep flying after the lady, and by now she is pretty sure this arrow is not your ordinary wooden stick. She is terrified to admit if this thing is actually the fail knot. Sergeant Lee keeps up the chase, but he's falling behind. He busts out his metal detector and pinpoints where fail knot is headed. He also pulls out his other weapons from his arsenal. Looks like it is really getting tough for her to keep running. The arrow's just inches away from her now. When it hits her metal thingy on her neck, blood sprays out from her back for some odd reason. Lee Hyunwook does not waste time either, and unleashes the power of his spear and goes in for the attack. But her blood grabs onto his weapons as it pours out, and she starts transforming. Her horns get even hornier with this new form, startling Sergeant Lee with this unexpected twist in his plan. She grabs the arrow with her hand and gives Lee Hyunwook a disappointed look. She is pissed that she had to reveal her second transformation just to fight this puny bastard. Though she transformed for more power, I am still not sure why her newly bigger hooters help her fight better. The blood hits Sergeant right in the back, but he manages to save himself by using his indomitable steel body before crashing down. It looks like fail knot did hit the lady, but she grabbed the arrow before it could pierce her throat. Now she is teasing our hero, disappointed that he does not know how to use fail knot better. The impact seems to have taken a toll on our hero. He's coughing up blood. Seeing him in this sorry state, the lady asks if he's the same guy who launched that high-level AoE attack against those zombies. Sergeant grits his teeth, asking if that even matters right now. He demands to know where his squad members are, promising to unleash his powers again if she cooperates. The lady is fired up and is not letting our hero go without seeing despair on the face of the guy who ruined her plans. With her red circle thing activated, blood-soaked spider webs suddenly erupt from the ground. The web spreads out, covering an area way beyond just battle range, and it seems to be blanketing the entire zone. Though I am not quite sure what that means, but Sergeant is convinced these guys came fully prepared from the start, although he's still clueless about their endgame. Well, looks like we have got our answer. Her nets are indeed covering everything, even reaching the executive quarters. Dead soldiers inside are getting tangled up in these webs and starting to move like zombies. I guess this solves another mystery, which was how those zombies and undead creatures were following the vampire's command. And it seems like these poor soldiers have become her puppets too. Back in the thick of it, the lady reassures our hero that he will definitely meet his friends he's been desperately looking for. Right on cue, her web stretches into the underground bunkers, where we see the fatty lying on the ground, and he is about to join her puppet army as well. With a devilish grin, she taunts that since her subordinates already killed his friends, our hero might not be too happy to see them once again. Sergeant loses it hearing this vile woman and demands she stop using his fallen soldiers as puppets. Meanwhile, the chubby guy has fully turned into a vampire, his long teeth a dead giveaway. She gleefully announces that since she is letting him meet his friends once again, he will now have to personally kill them again, and she cannot wait to see our hero's desperate face when it happens. Back at the quarters, the zombified officers are causing chaos in the building. And at the bunker entrance, things are going from bad to worse as Lee Won-suk emerges from underground after becoming undead. Meanwhile, our hero unleashes the power of his spear again, but this woman just scoffs, asking if that is all he's got. She retaliates with her nets, but Lee Hyun-wook tries to dodge the attack and gets pushed back by the webs, injuring his back in the process. The lady tells him not to die just yet because his friends are on their way, and she cannot wait to see our hero's despairing face when they arrive. Lee grits his teeth again, realizing she is a tougher opponent than he expected. He reveals he neutralized Grigori Azazel's curse with Failnaught, allowing him to use his holy powers once more, but he still seems to be in hot water. Well, now we all know that the metal thingy on her neck was actually a relic suppressing her holy powers, which is why our hero targeted it first. Suddenly, an unpleasant notification pops up, announcing the Devil's Assembly Zone in the area. Dark attributes are boosted by 50%. Undead attributes heal faster by 50%. And the number of monsters coming through the gate doubles. Seeing this, Sergeant Lee realizes there must be an active totem boosting her powers. Using his holy powers would just waste his mana, so he is left with only one daring option. With his life on the line, he takes the risk, replenishing his mana to 100% with those mana tanks. He is determined she has crossed the line, and he vows to put this witch back in her place, even if it costs him his life. Once his mana is filled to the brim, he activates the black magic of the Crown of Light and Darkness. This rapidly boosts his resistance against undead attributes and grants him either a holy power aura or a black magic aura to his specified equipment. This time, he opts for black magic. There is a warning that there is a corresponding penalty for each aura granted, and he cannot use both black magic and holy powers simultaneously. With the dark aura skill activated, our hero gains a 30% boost from the crown's black magic, but as a penalty, his health drops by 30%. Once he has the much-needed black magic, his spear and the crown over his head turn into a deep gloomy purple color. And let us not forget why our hero chose to use dark magic. It is because with the totem activated in the area, his dark aura powers have also rapidly increased. The lady is absolutely shocked to see this guy pull dark powers out of nowhere, but my guy just tells her to prepare herself. He vows to swallow all her darkness with an even deeper darkness. After hearing his bold declaration, the lady immediately attacks him, but the boy uses his indomitable steel body, and his shirt tears down like he's some hero from a Hollywood movie. With those thick muscles, he swings his spear again, but the lady dodges the attack effortlessly. She is annoyed and amazed to see this guy deliberately give himself a dark attribute to use totem buffs. She is not sure if it is an act of bravery or just plain stupidity. On the other hand, Lee Hyun-wook is finally feeling pumped as he starts to match this woman's power. Suddenly, his vision starts to blur, and a system warning flashes, revealing that the amplified dark power has pushed him to his limit, and he will be entering into a berserk state. It seems the totem buffs are much stronger than our hero thought, and if he does not snap out of it, he's in serious trouble. Meanwhile, our drunkard hero is bewildered to see these creepy nets hovering above his head. Out of nowhere, the zombified soldiers appear right in front of him, and he's thrown for a loop seeing all the platoon leaders at once. This time, he does not seem thrilled about fighting these guys, because he does not want to risk the top-shelf liquor promised by Sergeant Lee. Nonetheless, he takes his stance and lunges at the platoon leaders to secure his promise. Before cutting them down for good, he apologizes for what is about to happen and offers them rest in peace. Back with our hero, he's going absolutely bonkers trying his hardest to take down this lady for good. This time, it looks like he's starting to lose his sanity, his shimmering eyes giving it away. The lady throws another sassy remark, pointing out that he cannot even control these dark powers, yet he's bold enough to challenge her. Meanwhile, our Steel Emperor is becoming more engulfed in dark powers, charging at the lady once more with his spear ready. She is caught off guard by the attack but manages to tilt backward to avoid the blow. Unexpectedly, the transformed fatty enters the scene and lunges at our hero with his giant axe, aiming to obliterate him for good. The impact is colossal, crushing even the ground beneath their feet like a meteor. The fatty persistently presses our hero under his massive axe, but our boy immediately overpowers this muscle-bound warrior, giving him a hard blow with his steel head. The lady gets totally pissed off and decides to take our hero down along with his comrade in one go. She unleashes her webs once again, but Sergeant Lee quickly leaps into the air, charges straight at the fatty, grabs him by the throat, and thrusts his spear right into his friend's chest. It seems like this isn't our hero fighting his friend. Lee Hyun-wook is just trapped inside his own mind, unable to take control back over his body. He starts imagining his other friends, desperately begging him for help. An entire pile of bodies tries to climb our hero, dragging the once Steel Emperor he was right into the river of the underworld. It sounds like the Steel Emperor is regaining control over his own body in the middle of the intense battle. His energy begins to stabilize, indicating his struggle to overcome the dark power's influence. As he manages to release his hand from his friend's throat, a system warning flashes, indicating that his despair and anger have surpassed their limits due to the overwhelming dark power. With a fierce roar, he asserts his dominance, reclaiming control over his body. The system notification congratulates him for meeting special conditions to unlock the hidden attribute of the item. He then unleashes a surge of blue arcane energy, akin to tapping into his own version of Ultra Instinct, which exerts such pressure that it flings the fatty aside. It looks like Lee Hyun-wook has unlocked a new superpower, and a system notification pops up to inform him that he has activated a hidden attribute known as Hellfire Mode. This mode kicks in when the user's dark power exceeds its limit, granting the power of hellfire that craves darkness. The hellfire will burn endlessly until the dark power is exhausted. Sure, this sounds like thick plot armor, but who's complaining? This new form of our hero is something entirely new and outclassed, something we have not seen before in this comic. Even the vampire lady is seeing it for the first time and she knows she is in trouble. She tries to make a run for it, realizing she is about to get screwed over. However, her escape is abruptly halted when Lee Hyun-wook's spear slices her leg clean off. He does not even move from his place to pull off that stunt. His spear returns to his hand like a boomerang, while the vampire woman screams in agony, her leg pouring out a terrifying amount of blood. On the other hand, Lee Hyun-wook, in his new form, looks downright amazing and terrifying enough to give any fiend the chills of their life. After Lee Hyun-wook slices her leg clean off, he stands like a total Giga Chad, while that vile woman screeches at the top of her lungs after losing her limb. Even though he looks like he's on another level with all that power radiating from him, he still appears to be struggling. His regrets and despair from his past life are dragging him down into the depths of darkness. I am not sure if he is on autopilot or if he's fully conscious of his actions, but I am pretty sure he's ready to fight this woman, who seems to be preparing something bigger and more powerful this time. She is so furious that she starts foul-mouthing our hero, saying she is going to rip him to shreds. She summons webs through that weird portal above her and throws them down at him. But Lee Hyun-wook slides backward, while the girl starts picking up giant rocks with her webs and starts throwing them at him. And as you can imagine, he just grabs those piles of rocks with his bare hands like it is no big deal. She keeps piling up those rocks above him, but the sergeant just bursts through them, obliterating her webs. The lady is shocked to realize he burned her spider webs like they were nothing. Instantly, he uses his weapons against her, striking her and making her fall, and her portal-like enchantment shatters with a single push of his spear. As he keeps swinging his spear left and right, his eyes are totally fixated on her up above. By now, she's pretty sure she's royally screwed because she's already played her best cards. Meanwhile, we catch up with the other soldiers, who are terrified by the explosions in the forest. They're on the hunt to find the totem. One soldier rallies his friends, reminding them that everyone is busting their butts to save lives, so they should do their best too. After some searching, they finally find one of the totems, which is a giant pillar-like thing. The corporal tells his buddies to whip out their holy weapons and get the C4 ready. He also asks on Minty to get his shield ready because they are gonna need it. Minty immediately agrees, saying everyone's putting their lives on the line, so he's not holding back either. With that, Minty deploys his holy shield, and the corporal urges everyone to give it their all to break through that totem. Another soldier enhances the holy sword with extra power, confident that the C4 explosion attached to the shield will help push the holy sword against the shield, helping them to break the totem. But they are all worried about the shockwave from the explosion messing them up. Before they can make any meaningful progress, a monster emerges from the portal. Its mere swing of the hand startles the soldiers and breaks their formation. The monster emerging from the portal is so huge that the soldiers look like puny ants beside it. As it stands tall, we learn it is a boss monster, the Gigant Haunted Armor. Its massive roar pierces through the air, audible even to Sergeant Lee from a distance. Seeing this monster appear, the woman finds a little bit of hope in herself. She has no choice but to destroy her own totem, because it is the only way she can deal with our hero since the totem is the reason he's in this berserker mode. She is confident the Gigant Haunted Armor will handle everything in one sweep. She immediately flies toward the monster where the totem is located and commands her haunted armor to destroy the totem right away. The monster acknowledges the command with a growl and raises its sword to turn the totem into dust, while the soldiers await their impending doom. Meanwhile, Lee Hyun-wook is hot on her trail as the lady charges Failnaught. Within moments, she quickly throws it down towards him. As the energy-charged arrow descends, Sergeant Lee prepares himself and deflects it with his spear. However, the arrow immediately changes trajectory and starts coming back towards him, as Failnaught always finds its mark without fail. Seeing this, she turns around only to find the arrow heading straight for her. The reason the arrow is coming at her is because Sergeant Lee is blocking her path from the front, leaving her trapped between him and the oncoming Failnaught. With no way out, she braces herself for what is coming. Just as Failnaught is about to hit, Lee Hyun-wook grabs her and thrusts his spear into her belly. The arrow, meanwhile, strikes Sergeant Lee in the shoulder. Both of them tumble backward, crashing into the forest with such force that even the soldiers are reeling from the shockwave it creates. Shortly after, we see her with a gaping fourth hole in her belly, which is so massive it would put the entire adult industry to shame. The one responsible for this hole is our hero, who stands once again, casually removing Failnaught from his chest like it is no big deal. She chuckles at him, calling him a fool and reminding him he should have let her destroy the totem, as he's just thrown away his chance to end his berserker state. But my guy is not here to listen to her yammering. He is focused on the task at hand, grabbing that necklace-like thing and ripping it from her chest, which is the item that was apparently blocking everyone's holy powers. She calls him a monster who is going to crave death endlessly, warning that the comrades he fought for will turn against him and try to kill him, and she is wondering what kind of expression he will wear when that happens. Well, Sergeant is not about to take any crap from anyone, especially someone like her. So, he does what needs to be done and thrusts Failnaught right into her chest. She starts burning immediately from the effects of the holy power. Even as she dies, she laughs maniacally, saying she will watch him from hell and eagerly await the hopeless look on his face. It is ironic how her obsession with others' despair led to her own death, and she remains stubborn like a brat, showing no hint of despair even as she dies. Once the soldiers destroy the totem, purple energy begins to spread throughout the jungle. The Steel Emperor feels himself being pulled out of darkness. Blue energy emanates from him, and as the totem is completely obliterated, a red system window flashes, confirming the destruction of the totem and lifting the effects it had around in the area. As Sergeant Lee returns to his original form, free from the effects of his berserker mode, he flashes his familiar grin, causing her to swallow her own words about his friends turning against him, and makes it clear that they would risk their lives to save him, just as he would for them. With her finally out of the way, Sergeant Lee gazes at the necklace-like thing he snatched from her, and immediately swallows it. While doing so, he checks in with the soldiers about their situation. Corporal Park Junmo reports back promptly, saying Park Sung-ho is alive, On Minty is injured, and he does not forget to inquire about Sergeant Lee's own condition. In response, Lee flashes that same old lizard-like grin at his comrades. As the relic he swallowed reaches his belly, a system window pops up, indicating he has consumed the relic of the fallen angel known as Grigori Azazel, and it has an unknown effect which has not been told to us yet. Sergeant announces that the core target elimination is complete and orders everyone to regroup with the platoon leader quickly, warning that the boss monster has already been awakened. As he speaks, he suddenly coughs up a copious amount of blood. It seems that he is suffering from the side effects of abusing those mana stones repeatedly. While he struggles with coughing, the monster appears from behind. Without hesitation, he summons his spear back and grabs it, commanding the support squad to evacuate the area immediately. The monster prepares to strike and throws its giant axe at our hero. On the other side, Corporal Park Junmo rushes to save his friend. Meanwhile, Lee Hyun-wook attempts to use his indomitable steel body to save himself from the strike, but his system flashes a warning that his caster's body cannot withstand the indomitable steel body, and rejects it. The axe is just inches away, and he braces himself for the worst. It seems Corporal is too far to reach his friend in time. And as the axe slams into the ground, it shatters the earth into dust and rubble, the shockwave visible for miles around. Surprisingly enough, it seems the monster somehow missed its aim. The reason becomes clear when we see a giant tiger leaping in, biting the monster's head clean off. The wild beast clenches its jaws tightly, severing the monster's head from its body, leaving everyone stunned at this sudden intrusion of this massive cat. Once the threat is out of the way, the white tiger lets out a massive roar of dominance in the area. Right on cue, a military helicopter appears in the sky, and someone jumps from it, crashing down to the ground as if it is nothing. And the man in question turns out to be none other than our battalion commander himself. First things first, he raises his voice, asking if everyone is safe. The corporal lights up with happiness at seeing the battalion commander and forgets momentarily to report back to his senior. Another system window flashes, announcing their victory over the undead boss monster, Gigant Haunted Armor, in the Assembly Zone of Evil event. We also get an introduction to the wild beast, Druid, an underling of Battalion Commander Kim Kangseok's. Meanwhile, the battalion command is relieved to see that he was not late for the party. In the background, the sergeant does not forget to snag the relics from the totem. Once he's got them in hand, he starts chowing down right away, and right on cue, the system tells us he's consumed Devil's Metals, known as Legion, with its effects still a mystery. After that, Sergeant Lee gives a salute to his senior. The commander states that he knew Lee had been granted permission to use the battalion's arsenal, but he did not expect him to blow up all of the weapons. He is relieved the battalion terror mess is sorted for now, and asks for a quick rundown of things. In response, Lee Hyun-wook promptly narrates that the terror incident involving the 3rd Anti-Demon Brigade's 1st Battalion was a planned attack by 5 players, with 4 eliminated and 1 captured. During the process, most military executives died, and they are still assessing casualties among the regular soldiers. However, all remaining monsters were cleared out by Sergeant Seo, and their anti-terror defense held strong during the 7-hour ordeal. As the sun finally rises, casting its glow over the city, the guerrilla tries to crack a smile. He jokingly mentions that Lee's reports always seem to have good news. Down below, the poor corporal stumbles over his words, asking if everything is cleaned up. If it is, he wonders why it is still dark, pointing up at the sky, puzzled by the lingering darkness. Just then, our hero flags down his battalion commander and reluctantly drops some news that might not be so great. The guerrilla perks up, and the sergeant spills the beans that there were already a bunch of gates open when he took charge. He grimly reveals that the terror incident and evil assembly zone event were just the start, and the true goal of the enemy is to initiate the fourth wave that humanity has always feared, and the starting point of that wave is right here. Here is the rundown on these waves if you do not know about them. Apparently, they are like the worst disaster in this game. Monsters flood in like a tsunami, taking over human turf and transforming the whole place into some freaky, alien environment. Unlike the unlucky events, this one's completely isolated. No one can enter, nor they can leave. Everyone nearby starts freaking out hearing this. Even the battalion commander clenches his teeth, realizing their enemy has been chasing a totally different goal from the get-go. While Sergeant Lee is practically shaking from exhaustion, the commander instructs everyone to head back to base and prepare to regroup. Lee Hyun-wook is supposed to oversee the assembly, but he looks too worn out to be giving orders right now. Right on cue, a system notification pops up, indicating that he's in the midst of absorbing the Devil's Metal Legion. A signal core is forming in his central nervous system, currently standing at 1%. The process may bring extreme pain, and his current physical state makes it difficult to endure. As the notification disappears, Sergeant Lee starts collapsing to the ground. Blood everywhere, shocking everyone present. As he begins to lose consciousness, voices around him fade, and his mind flashes to a moment from his past life. In his memory, In-jun asks him if he's sure the fifth wave will start in Singapore. As everyone eagerly awaits his response, he confidently agrees, saying it is pretty simple to figure out. He reveals that the first wave hit California, the second wave struck Shanghai, the third was in Berlin, and even the fourth wave hit Seoul. He explains that the common factor in these wave areas is the frequent appearance of high-level gates 3 months before the wave, as if they were gathering power to erupt all at once. Orange Head chimes in, questioning what they will do next even if they know the origin of the waves in advance. He points out the villains blocking their path, and everyone here is also almost out of equipment and supplies. The Steel Emperor acknowledges their strength and weapons they have. He also remembers that during the last fourth wave, humans managed to stop the mythical grade item Mistletoe used by enemies, thanks to sacrifices from heroes like Lee Sun-jiun, Han Tae-sun, Choi Yoon-cheol, Kim Kang-seok, and Steve Marin. These villains pose a threat because they can trigger waves to wipe out humanity to gain experience and collect stronger items. But the Steel Emperor stresses that it is a different story now. They know what their target is, so instead of playing into the villains' hands, they need to prepare to fight back. This alone gives them a reason to take action to protect humanity from the villains. The next scene takes us to Lee Hyun-wook's other memory in the past, at the base of the last resistance army of humanity. There, a guy in a hoodie crashes into our hero's turf, and 2 players immediately take their stance to fend off the intruder. But the guy just gives a menacing smirk, saying